To not like that Vanderpump Rules Valley crossover is fathomless.
It's fathomless, really fathomless. Like, wow, you can't even fathom that happening.
Yeah, Sandoval.
Don't you ever call me Sandoval.
Ugh, okay. Are you ready to get down to reality?
Let's get down to reality.
Welcome to Down to Reality. I'm one of your hosts, M, also known as Connection Queen X.
I am your other host. My name is Ro, also known on social media as Reality Ops.
This week, we got what we needed, which was a Vanderpump Rules and the Valley crossover.
Yep. So today we have so much to go over. We are going to do our normal recap of Vanderpump Rules. Before that, though, we are going to talk about the Valley. We're going to talk about what we think of the crossover. And very importantly, there was the reunion, and we have a lot of information and little pieces of things that came out where we were able to put together what we think actually happened. So we will give you a spoiler alert before we talk about that, just in case you don't want to hear. I did get some tea and I will deliver that news again with a spoiler alert. And at the end of the podcast, we had to go back in and add more stuff because there was so much that happened this week that we ended up having to record 3 different times. And we'll let you know when we added stuff back in. But you'll see that at the end, there's like 2 extra sections for you. We just wanted to make sure that anything we said that had updates was told to you. So you were all caught up with your Vanderpump news.
We're also going to discuss a few things on the after show that were pretty interesting, and I've been loving the after show. Very juicy.
Very juicy, full of juice. So you ready to get started?
Let's do this. We have a lot to
Okay.
chat about.
All right, let's start with our general thoughts about this crossover. So I need to know, what did you think? What were your feelings?
Okay, well, first off, chills when the theme song transitioned and then muted. I was like, oh my gosh, we're getting it. We're getting it right now. Like, I literally felt such chills. And I also thought it was a very cool styling edit for production. How they had Jax kind of walk out of the restaurant, get in the car, and then he's going into the confessional for the Valley. What did you think about it? How did you feel when you heard that transition of music?
Okay, I got chills also. And again, I was like, am I weird? Like, are other people getting chills? Can I ask this question or am I just a weirdo? So I'm glad that you got chills.
Oh, no, that's like a thing. I was on TikTok live and I was like, "Y'all, I have chills right now on my arm. I'm so excited."
Yeah, it was good. I mean, first of all, that crossover scene, and we'll talk about that when we do the recap because that's where it's the end of it. But that crossover scene was delightful in the
Yes.
way that, it was our old Vanderpump coming back. It was Jax going hard at Sandoval, harder than expected, but then again, softened up, typical Jax, right?
Yep, yep.
Like Lala, like we said last time, he's kind of like Lala. Um, but the whole transition, I will say, and remember I had said I thought that was a scene they were going to do. I thought that when he was leaving, he was then gonna go arrive home at night to Brittany, and I thought that was a missed opportunity. I was upset that then they had the whole freaking super tease again, and I'm like, "We already saw this shit literally,
Right,
like,
we know
350
this.
times. Why did they do that again?"
Maybe okay, hear me out. For people, don't forget, a lot of new people are watching. So maybe they
True.
kind of need a different again, we're OG watchers. That's what
Yeah.
we would expect. But if you're a new viewer, I feel like it's kind of for the new viewers. That's why they did it. That was my impression.
Yeah, but just like Scheana, you gotta prioritize your friendships. You have to prioritize your viewership. To me, like, the OG viewers are who they should have worked on appreciating more, or not appreciating, what's the word? Satisfying more. And I thought it would have been a smoother transition. So I really liked it. I just felt like that super tease was kind of
We don't need
like
it. It's like
cutting
filler.
off the fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need it. It was like when, I don't know, you have to, well, you can't say this analogy on here because it's way too inappropriate, but it's like when you're in the moment and then you have to go get something and that, like, ruins the moment,
Yep.
and
Totally.
that's what I felt like. So, to me, should have been a smoother transition, but overall, I was so excited, and I'm glad you got chills also. So like we said, we'll come back to that, But let's go over some more things that happened this week because it was super important. And here's your spoiler alert. Again, if you do not like spoilers or possible spoilers for the reunion, you might want to skip ahead to the next section. Now, on the last episode, we talked about how they were filming the reunion. And there was some information that came out. And one of the things that they said happened about the reunion, a blind, was that Ariana had eviscerated Lala and that they were no longer going to be friends because of this. The blind didn't sound completely right to me. It sounded like partially right. But over the week, we got lots of little bits and pieces from different people. I say over the week, oh my God, it's only freaking Wednesday. But the last few days, we got a lot of pieces from Lala because, Lala likes sharing that info. She likes those pod listens, I think. So
She
she
does, and she's very forthcoming too.
very forthcoming. She knows how to get people to turn on. So tune in, turn on, both maybe, but
Right.
she definitely spilled a lot. Katie said some things on the Bravo channel that we heard also, and I've been picking up little pieces here and there. I posted some videos to my page that had the podcast clips.
Also, Katie was on Watch What Happens Live last night, and she also kind of, like, dropped some hints that I mean, Andy Cohen really seems like he is so shell-shocked about watching the rest of the season, filming the reunion. Um, I'm having a hard time deciding the blind item versus what Katie said. I do feel like
Right.
there's some truth to it, I do.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think that Ariana came after Lala for several reasons. One, everything that people are saying, and we'll tell you some of that. Two, Ariana isn't really that type of person, but Lala is that type of person, and Ariana will go hard when she needs to, but she typically doesn't do that unless she's, like, acting in defense. So could that have happened if it was defense? Absolutely.
Sure,
It
yeah.
does
I'm also
it's
kind of thinking about that one scene between Ariana and Lala last season. Remember when
Mhm.
they kinda were, like, catty towards each other? So I could see that in the sense of, yeah, if Ariana's feeling like she's being attacked, she's obviously going to defend herself.
Yeah, in season 9, you mean?
Was it season 9? It might have been
Yeah,
season
when she was
yeah.
like, "Of
Yes.
exploring cool." Yeah, right.
Yes. Yep,
That
yep,
was
yep,
literally what I was picturing, the same exact thing.
yep.
Um, so here's what I think happened. I think it was the other way around because Katie was really upset about what happened. Logan, who's Ariana's best friend, posted right after the reunion, or he tweeted, sorry, tweeted, which not as many people go to, but he did tweet a little tweet. What is it called? X now? And he
Yes.
said,
Yep.
X, right? And he said, some people in this group aren't going to make it to heaven. Okay. Why would he say that if it was Ariana going after Lala? Lala said on the talk today that one of the two things are true. Okay. Which leads me to believe that their friendship is probably over because of Lala going hard at Ariana. What
I
do I
could
think?
see that. I could. Even their conversation last week, I was like, it's intense. There's a lot of heightened energy between them.
A lot of energy, and Lala is really defensive of Scheana and will defend the shit out of Scheana, and I think that she probably just I think she let her rip based off of what everybody's saying.
See, what I'm having a hard time discerning is like, is Lala yes, I know Lala's defending Sheena, her friend, but I also feel like part of Lala is, I don't want to say, I don't know, projecting her own things towards Ariana and is not seeing it from Ariana's point of view because they are in two very different situations.
Yeah, Lala also said on her podcast today that they broke the fourth wall. She talked about the finale, so she gave us a lot of clues, and what I'm wondering, do you remember that scene when they show Sandoval at the finale yelling,
Yes, yes.
like,
Also, really quick, I did see a lot of comments online about like, what does it mean to break the fourth wall? Do you
"Oh,
want to
thank
just
you
like
for asking."
say like what does that exactly mean? Because there are some people that are like, what does that mean?
Right, right, right. No, I'm glad that you said that because you're right, there were a lot of comments that said that. So breaking the fourth wall basically means acknowledging that you're on a TV show. So it could be literally something simple as just saying like, "I'm not doing that just because of a TV show." or something that's saying like all the viewers are going to see this, or it could be more extreme like having a producer come onto the show, which is what's going to happen in the finale that we've seen clips of. Producer Jerry is going to get
Right.
right involved in there, and we're going to see him talking to them, and obviously they're going to be acknowledging that they're doing a TV show. And what we heard as some tea about the finale, again, this is spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, don't. Well, you could skip forward. I will put timestamps in the description of the episode so that you can go ahead with these certain parts so you don't hear spoilers if you don't want them. But in the finale episode, we know that Ariana does not want to film with Tom Sandoval. She does not want to have a conversation with him. And he wanted to have that conversation. I guess he wanted his moment to apologize to her. She did not want to do it. He wanted that moment. She didn't want it. She walked out of the finale. And I think that's why Lala then ends up saying, like, she thinks she's God or what is something like, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah,
she gets
blah.
cheated on and all of a sudden she becomes God, right.
Exactly. She gets cheated on. Exactly. So that moment, okay, happens. Then we see Sandoval going on the screen, and this is what we've seen. I don't know if it was in another trailer or if it's in a commercial. I don't remember, but Sandoval like yelling at Scheana and Lala after Ariana leaves and says, like, she talks shit about all of you. So I'm wondering when she says break the fourth wall, I know she's talking about the finale, but she was also kind of talking in reference to the reunion. And I'm wondering what we're going to see at the reunion. I wonder if this is what Lala is going to come at Ariana with, like bits of you don't even want to be around us. You know how Lala came to Ariana in the, I think it was the first episode when she's like, I just feel like, do you even like me? Like, do you even like hanging out
Ooh,
with
good
me?
yeah.
Would you just tolerate me, right?
Yep.
So, I think she's gonna call Ariana out for, and by the way, guys, I wanna make this very clear. I do not know any of this for a fact at all. This is not something that someone specifically told me, and I'm telling you that because do I talk to people and get information and have sources? Absolutely. There are some things, though, that I don't want to know. And I want to be surprised. And I people know this, and I've said this before. And also, don't forget, they do sign things. I wanna say I'm picking up the pieces and getting it. I did hear one bit of tea, and the only thing I heard is that the end will be shocking, okay? So then I heard all the shit from everybody, and that's where I'm getting these pieces. So the only information I got specifically that I'm going to share is that the end will be shocking. These other bits I don't know. We could be completely wrong about what's going to be happening, but I'm thinking it has to do well. I feel like it's pretty factual at this point now that we know that Lala is going to come after Ariana because of everything that they're saying. But I'm saying I don't. She's saying the breaking the fourth wall thing. Like I don't know how that's going to work exactly, but I'm
Right.
thinking they're gonna show, like, footage of Ariana doing things or saying things. I know Lala is pissed, she feels like she doesn't wanna film, like, she doesn't wanna be involved, it seems like. What are you thinking? Like, are you upset that Lala might be going after Ariana? Or if it's the other way around, do you think Ariana is really going after Lala and maybe we're picking up on it wrong? But
I
what do you
just
think?
can't see Ariana going after Lala unwarranted. Does that make sense? Like, I don't
Yeah.
feel like Ariana goes after anybody for no reason, you know? Now, I'm not saying that I think Lala goes after people for no reason. I just think that they both have very different communication styles, and I think that they have very different past experiences. I also think it's a little tricky because the two of them might have a similar experience with a horrible ex, but we have to separate the two. They're two very different situations. So, I mean, I'm just excited because like Andy Cohen, he has made it a point to let everyone know like he really enjoyed the last few episodes and that the reunion is going to be really intense. And I don't think he's just saying that for fun. I think he means it. So I'm really excited. And after last season's reunion, I was like, "Oh my god, like that's some of the most crazy intense TV I've seen in like reality TV." So I'm like, shocking? Something more shocking than last reunion, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, it's gonna be totally different. I mean, and that's what Lala was saying too, it's gonna be totally different. But do you feel like okay, so I completely agree with you. Randall and Sandoval are 2 totally different things. Something else Lala said today on her podcast is that So she didn't say Ariana, by the way. She's not like you would choose Scheana over Ariana, but she was saying in real life, you would, in quotes, pick Scheana. And then she was explaining how Scheana, like, has a lot of friends. This is what she was getting at. Cause she's like,
Right.
Scheana has 150 people at her party. I'm like, 150 people at a party. What is she getting at? She's a party girl. I'm like, she's trying to say Scheana has a lot of friends and that people like Scheana. And that she was saying, I think she said something about the life of the room where Scheana, she was just really going hard for Scheana. And we know we like Scheana on this podcast too, but we do unfortunately, I should say unfortunately like everybody. We like everybody, I feel like in
We
different ways.
do, exactly. Yes, and that's why I enjoy doing this with you because I again feel like frigidity with something like this, we're only seeing bits and pieces.
Right. Right. And people are commenting like I'd rather have, a few close friends and 150 acquaintances, which I see that side of it also. So I'm kind of like Lala's trying to prove that Sheena's friends with a lot of people. But at the same time, I completely also understand the other side of it, which is like, well, or you can have a couple of friends who you're super close with and you trust wholeheartedly, It's just I do think though from what I'm hearing from everyone is that people need to stop coming so hard at Gina. And this is what we've advocated for on our on our podcast also. But I'm also hearing that people have been having issues with Ariana and that hasn't gotten talked about. But it seems like a lot of the issues that they're having also revolve around filming. And then it begs a question, what's more important, your relationships or your job and filming? And for me, I'm like, well, I'm team Mariana there because I would not want to film with my ex. And I think that's total bullshit that she's being forced into situations where she has to be uncomfortable and be talking to him. However, when I think about it, I gotta say this. When we're watching this season, why is it getting better now? It's getting better because she's like in the same room as him and their situation, right?
Yeah, it is. I have to say, the first few
Ugh.
episodes were a little slow, and I was like, "Why is the after party a lot better? The after show rather a lot better." But it's definitely getting better. I feel like finally we're getting Vanderpump Rules, and I guess you're right. It's because we are getting the whole gang back together.
Yeah,
Not
and
talking, still feel like the whole gang is there.
I hate that for her personally, but I do believe and get it, and that's why she decided to go. She said she's not gonna let Tom Sandoval whatever, but I do get it that this is and, some people actually commented this to me in one of my story questions, like, "This is a job, and this is how they make their bank, and this is how they continue their show, is to put themselves in these uncomfortable situations. Does it suck? Yeah. I completely stand with Ariana, like, I wouldn't wanna do it, but I do get the other side of it.
Me too, me too. Okay, so I'm glad that you brought that up because something I was thinking, like, you know how, like, at a job, you might not like everyone, right? I get that
Yeah.
point of view. Like, my mom's always been like, "Listen, like, there's always gonna be that one person, and you just gotta, like, kinda learn to work around them."
Mhm.
Yes, and I understand that, but hear me out because there's a little caveat here because that person isn't my ex-partner of 10 years. I think that changes it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I will okay. Something interesting, though.
You know what I mean? Like, that does change the dynamic of now my, in quotes, "work."
Of course, and you have to decide, do you stay at that job or do you leave the job?
Right.
So this actually happened at my job, um, and I'm a teacher. There was a
Was there a
couple.
scandal at your job?
No, it wasn't a scandal, but there was a couple that was together. They were not married, and the guy did cheat on the girl, and this was, like, a well-known couple, like, this was, like, the couple of the school, like, they're the couple of the school. There's
Mhm,
not many guys who work at elementary schools either,
mhm.
not many men, and he was very loved until this, and he did cheat on her, and it broke her heart, and then he ended up going out with somebody else at another school, and it was but we all knew it because we were all at meetings with everybody.
That's
But they
so awkward.
but they did have to work that he ended up moving schools, by the way, the next year.
Okay.
I think that that probably had to do with I was gonna say production, but that probably had to do with administration making that decision.
Wait, that's so funny because our
It
admin
is funny.
is like production, you're right.
Yeah. But they moved schools, but they were at meetings together. They were I was gonna say filming together, not filming together, but they were doing workshops together. They were had meetings together. We were in the lunchroom together, like
Yeah, they
all these
still had to
things.
work, right.
They still had to work and they still worked for their coin. So it's so hard because I completely get Ariana. I would be feeling just like her, but I also do understand the other side of it, which is you have to have a job. And this will come up when we talk about Katie talking to Sandoval later, actually. I wanna make sure we don't forget that. But,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. I love Lala. I love Lala, but we've talked about this before. I feel like she is not showing Ariana enough grace, and even though I agree with her in these aspects, I feel like she is just being way too harsh on the girl and not and being hypocritical. And I get it. Like you said, Randall's a totally different situation, but it's not to Ariana because Ariana was hurt deeply, just like Lala was hurt deeply.
Yeah, and again, even Lala and Ariana are 2 different people. Like, let's separate, Tom and Randall, and let's separate Ariana and Lala. They're gonna process and handle things differently. I mean, I and I guess I'm gonna ask you this. Do you feel that Ariana and Lala have handled their breakups differently or similarly? Because I feel like the energy that Lala has is very different than the energy that Ariana has.
How do you mean?
I feel and, I can say this because even Lala has admitted this. Sometimes she's projecting her past traumas. I think she holds a lot of anger and she kind of carries this backpack of, hurt. And I haven't seen Ariana necessarily behave in that way. Like, I don't think Ariana's wearing her pain.
But the funny part is that's what Lala's accusing her of, is not getting over it. Like, that's what she said
I
today on the
know, which is
Isn't that
confusing.
bullshit? Like, this is legit 4 fucking months later. This is not the reunion, by the way. This is 4 months later that
Right.
they're filming.
That's
Yeah.
another great point. I'm so glad you brought that up. We really need to take into consideration when these scenes are being filmed, emotion wise, mental wise. Where are these people at? So that's a great point.
Although I guess at this time, when they're filming in the 4 months later, she's not as upset at Ariana about it, but it's just like, you don't have a right, guys, you don't have a right to tell somebody how long it should take them to get over something.
Right.
You are not in that fucking situation. This is a fact, okay? You cannot tell someone how long is acceptable for them to kind of be sad about something or hold on to something. You could tell them what you think is healthy. You can give them your own feedback, but you are not them. You are not in their position. You're not in their brain. You're not in their body. You weren't in their relationship. You need to be careful and mindful of what other people might be feeling. And I don't care what anybody says. I love Lala, but I don't think she's considerate enough of Ariana right now with this.
No, I agree. And it's not a one size fits all. You could process something in a week and it could take me months, literally months. And I could come back to you and be like, hey, I just realized that this is what happened. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
that absolutely has to be taken into consideration.
And you know what I have to say, like, we have, like, such a sweet community, and I love the people on, Instagram and TikTok, but Instagram is, like, very message friendly and like, get lots of messages. I'll hear from some followers who talk to me about things and traumas they've gone through in their life with relationships, and it's years later, like, they'll
Mm,
literally say, like, "It's been years of me."
yeah,
They're not even comparing to Scandival. They're just, like, talking about their relationship, like, when we're just, talking to each other, and,
right.
you don't have control over how long it takes somebody to be upset about something, to grieve something, and all of that. Like, mind your business with that. That's how I feel.
Especially when you yourself have gone through something like that. That's what boggles my mind. Like, if I've ever been in a situation,
Yeah.
I will never be like, I went through this. So because I went through this, I'm
Right.
expecting you to go through this in the same way. It's just, I don't think that's fair.
Right. Now, in saying that, do I think there's maybe gonna be some truth to Ariana being more difficult to film with? Probably in general, because she doesn't really like, I don't think Ariana's ever been like, I can't wait to step in front of this reality TV camera. Like she said she's wanted to do Broadway, you know? She's an
Right.
actress. She's like I don't Ariana's not like a gung ho filmy type girl. I don't feel that where Lala's like, I'm gonna bring it to every single situation, which is also why I'm kind of annoyed at Lala though. Okay, let me get back to the Ariana thing in a second. I'm kind of annoyed at Lala because I, first of all, I'm thankful. Thank you, Lala, because I know you're gonna give us another reunion moment. But also, at what expense? And if
Right.
this did ruin the friendship completely, I get it. Maybe they weren't close friends. It's just like, dude, you went so hard for her and now you're going to go the complete opposite way. It's a little weird to me that you're going to
That's,
do that.
I think, like, the biggest issue that in the sense of what I've been seeing online, especially, I also felt a certain type of way about it because I'm a little confused about what you just said, her riding so hard for her.
Yeah.
Lala's made money on this as well, and now
Yeah.
she's flipping the script. So, it's just confusing. I am confused.
Yeah, like she's her payroll co-star,
Yeah.
kind of.
Oh my god, yes! Literally. Yes, that's kind of how I felt.
Like they're just making all this money off of her heartache and she's making a lot of fucking money. But guess
Yes, but
what?
as she should, but then, like, I would if I was Ariana, I would also kind of feel a certain type of way, like, "Wait, you made it a point to let everyone know, Lala, that you made enough to put a down payment on a house, and now you're
Yeah.
flipping the script. That
And
makes
then
you."
retracted it, and then said that wasn't true,
Right, that was
yeah,
another thing too that kinda bothered me. I was like,
yeah,
"You like, we know that you did this, though. You actually, like, talked about it, you know?"
right. I am curious to see. I do always wanna wait and see because there are a lot of people who seem like they're more on the side of what Lala's feeling, and I feel like then there's gotta be some stuff going on that we don't know about, and,
Right, like,
maybe,
taking every
that
grain of salt.
maybe that, like, superiority I can never say that freaking word, I hate that word,
Mhm.
superiority, isn't that a hard word to say?
Yeah, it's very difficult to say.
The superiority, complex from Ariana maybe is true just because of stuff in the past, like, sh I was born cold bitch, but, like, we love that, we
Are
celebrate
you
that,
kidding?
but
I love that so much. That's why I put that lyric in the song.
oh,
"Cooler
right,
than
that's right.
you." Literally.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So, she definitely, I don't know, maybe rubs people the wrong way in real life personally. Maybe people feel like the friendships aren't as strong. I know that Scheana was really upset about the not telling her we're Dancing with the Stars, which I get the one side of it, you have the NDA, and then, like we talked about last week, that there's the other side of, "Yeah, but if it's your best friend, you
Wait,
just
I
tell 'em
honestly
everything."
was confused about that. Can you explain that to me? So Ariana signed an NDA that she wasn't allowed to tell people that she was gonna be on Dancing with the Stars, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, okay. So,
So,
but see, I don't get how Sheena could be upset with her then from finding out from her boyfriend.
I
I
think because
wouldn't.
they sign NDAs all the time.
Oh, okay. So it's like, "Okay, but we do this all the time. You couldn't tell me," like that type of a thing?
Yeah, but Katie
Okay.
was saying, I think it was the after show when she was like, "It's like a lock hold, like, it's a strong NDA," like, she's afraid to say
Okay.
something, so I see both sides of it, and then Ariana did apologize to her this episode. We're jumping ahead a little bit, but Ariana did apologize to her this episode and say she's sorry that she felt that way and she understood. I feel like Ariana is good at, like, seeing how people feel and then understanding it, which is what makes me sad that Lala came so hard after her too, because 'cause I'm like, could it have just been a good conversation, or did you really just want this good ass TV? I don't know. But I will say it was interesting. Did you hear about what they said on the after show about Ariana not telling Katie about Chicago?
Yes.
What did you think of that?
I I don't have a problem with that because
Okay.
it's okay, the reason I don't have a problem with that is because I guess my question is, why does Ariana need to tell Katie? Is it because they're business partners? If that's the case, fair. If not, why does she have to?
Okay. I thought because they're business partners, I was like, there's no way Katie didn't know about this shit. So then when they said it, I was shocked, personally.
And
But
also, I don't know, like maybe Ariana just wanted to like really surprise her friends too and be like, guys, guess what? Like I can't believe I'm about to say this. It's all happening. You know what I mean?
mhm. I mean, it could be.
Like, just to surprise them because she knew that they would be excited for her, I don't know.
My hope is that Ariana knew that the shop was not gonna be opening anyway because of what they're waiting on for permits. However, they kept saying they're waiting. But I personally, I didn't find the Dancing with the Stars thing that weird. I personally do find the Chicago thing weird if that's true. This is alleged, by the way, because this is what Katie didn't say this specifically. Brittany said it to Lala. She's like, "Did the same thing happen with Ariana with Chicago?" And Lala was like, Sure did," or something. And Brittany's like, "Yeah, I remember everybody saying that." So, obviously, if everybody's saying it, it had to have happened, but it wasn't confirmed by Katie. But it's funny that you didn't see that. See, to me, I was more like, "Wait, they're business partners." And then Lala made the comment saying, "So, look, this
I
is like the same thing. It's like Sandoval and Schwartz all over again. Ariana Sandoval and Katie is Schwartz."
That kinda bothered me. That comment did bother me because I was like, "Don't compare Ariana to Sandoval in any way."
Yeah, you're right. Mhm.
I don't see it like that. I I understand what Lala was trying to say, but I don't think it was a good analogy. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, of course it makes sense. I agree with you completely. It's a mean analogy. It's mean.
And again, I do forget, the after show was filmed a little bit later, right?
This after show was filmed very recently.
Oh, it was. See, that's I need to
These
that
newer
in.
ones were filmed
Yeah,
very recently. Yeah, they were
because I'm
probably
like, is that same energy being brought? Like, is the energy that we're getting now from the after show being brought into this reunion? Because then I
good
think that's very
question.
telling.
The answer is yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I think we're gonna get a good insight then on what this reunion will hold.
But something interesting here. Kristen does the after shows with Scheana, and Kristen loves Scheana and always defends Scheana.
Mhm.
So, and loves Ariana and always defends Ariana. So I do feel like Kristen also sees both sides to them. And this is why I always say I really don't think one of them is at fault. And that's why I hate when the hate is so strong piling on Sheena because I don't think Kristen would like Sheena if Sheena was really that girl that like wasn't a real friend to Ariana.
Right, yeah.
Okay, so now let's move on to the Valley. We'll talk a little bit about the Valley, nothing too crazy, because then this is going to be like a 3-hour episode and nobody needs that in their
Yeah.
life. But the Valley, I think we might end up having to do separate episodes for as we go further down the road.
Okay, I was thinking that too because I was like, the Valley also has a lot of juice in it. It does.
Yeah, we're going to see how people feel about that. But let's just talk like generally. What were your thoughts about like certain people, certain dynamics? What did you think?
Yeah. Well, okay, obviously, so excited, so excited to see Jax, Brittany, and Kristen. I definitely Jax for me has changed in some ways, but that is also still the same Jax, if that makes any sense. Like,
Oh my God.
um, I
Wait,
mean,
I'm holding back. Can I just talk about him
yes,
really quick?
please. Oh my God, please, yes.
I can't. Jax's energy is so fucking crazy. I was like, "Holy shit, I have not seen this on TV in so long," and I guess it's like the empath thing, I don't fucking know, maybe it's not. I was like, "Ah." He's so frantic, and I did watch him on House of Villains, which was filmed February of 2023. I believe filming for The Valley started June 2023, if I remember correctly. He was not like that on House of Villains. He was very different. He was much more chill. So I don't know if it's him putting it on for the cameras or if he just hasn't changed and tried to really act different on House of Villains, or if he really has been so shit's going on because of opening the restaurant, filming, and all that. Things are getting to his head. I don't know, but his energy was fucking wild to me. Were you not feeling that? I was like, what? This boy is like on a whole other level from everyone else.
Oh, no, no, I thought that he was on 100. The other thing I'm thinking is maybe he was different, like, his disposition was different on House of Villains because of different things going on in his life at the time, like, maybe he was high anxiety and that's what we were seeing because things were maybe being spoken about between him and Brittany at that time, like, the start of a talk of, "Jax, I really need this from you and that from you." Don't forget prior to the crossover, he made a lot of comments about how great his life was and how like he had that exact same energy
I
from the
know.
crossover. So I'm just thinking maybe things that were going on in his personal life manifested in that type of energy for him.
God, I don't know. It was wild
It
energy,
was
like a
intense.
wild bull.
Yeah.
It was like the Energizer battery, like, it was crazy to me. And I don't know how Brittany puts up with that, which is probably why she's having issues. We talked about this last time that he has anger issues and all that, and, oh boy, you can feel that shit. He's like
Absolutely. That's something
and
I'm thinking of. Imagine okay, he has that energy when he's happy, right? And I'm, like, literally shaking right now, like, trying to embody it. Imagine that if he's angry, it's yeah, it's probably very intense.
right, well, he seems angry a lot of the time, but I have to tell you something that came up after we recorded the podcast last time is that she said there was a big fight that led her to move out of the house with Cruz because she
Right.
felt that was better for them. Um, and that makes me happy that she did that, you know? That's what's better for them. I completely agree with that. But it makes me concerned for how he behaves, and, like, I really think he needs to go to, like, anger management classes
Yep.
and get help, and we've talked about this before, but, I mean, it was great fucking TV, but it was almost, like, too much energy. I'm just like, "Holy shit, dude." And then Kristen too, like, Kristen I love Kristen. Boy, they really fooled us in thinking they changed, like, Kristen is not so different
Yeah, okay, the other thing is, I felt like he carried just because we were talking about the same energy towards Kristen too. Like, he
as
was
he
not
used to.
letting up on Kristen.
Oh my god, somebody put in my questions or comments about the episode, they put, "Why does he think he's in control of Kristen's uterus?"
I don't no, like, literally, I am so first off, why is a man telling a woman what to do with her body? That annoyed me. I was like, "Stop, Jax." But he's
Ri
really, really intense, like, I've read so many different things online. You know, "Oh, he's like an older brother to her. Oh, they have a weird dynamic. They used to hook up." Like, I am confused by his energy towards her. Like, what
I
do you think
don't
about that?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I think about it. I'm a little uncomfortable saying it because I almost don't like how much he says she's like a sister to me. It almost makes me feel like there's other feelings involved. Like, it's
Right?
just weird. It's like a weird thing. Did you feel that like
Well, okay, I do think it's weird to call anybody a sibling if you've hooked up with them. That's just my thing.
yeah, and I get it, like, I do get it, like, listen, I have people in my own personal life who used to hook up and, like, are best friends now. I do see, I don't know, and I guess they would call each other brother or sister too, but
Would
yeah,
they
it is
okay,
weird.
so, like, I guess I don't have a personal experience like that, so that's why
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
alright, like, that's a little so I do agree, I think that there are different feelings there. I think he cares about Kristen in a different way. I'm not saying, like, he wants to be with Kristen. I just think that he really has deep, deep feelings and does care about Kristen's decisions and her life.
Yeah, part of me was like, okay, it's either he's really caring and doesn't want her to, like, be stuck with some guy that she doesn't really know, which I get, but then the other part of me was like, okay, you're literally not her. You have no biological clock for her. Like, shut up. This is
Right.
her life and her decision. And not only that, his beef with Luke to me is super weird.
That makes no sense. Absolutely, but okay,
Is it
also
because Luke is nothing like him that he's like, how could she possibly like this guy? Like, I don't get it. It's so fucking
no,
weird his
like,
beef with.
literally, I feel like he's acting, like, insecure around Luke, and he made so many comments about the Colorado because Luke kept talking about Colorado and Colorado, and I don't think that Jax liked when Luke said, "Yeah, well, 99% of my life is in Colorado." Because what? Like, that I think that's a confusing statement. If I was his partner, I'd be like, "So I make up 1% of your life?"
Right, right, right. That's true. Yeah, that's true. That is weird.
But
Yeah.
he does have and harnesses a lot of different energy towards Luke, I will say, compared to the other people's partners, spouses.
Yeah. I like Luke.
I like
Um,
Luke too. I feel like Jack should give that energy to Jesse, not to Luke,
oh my God. Oh, wait, and
right?
I just want to say, yeah. I want to say quickly, guys, when I'm saying I like Luke, I listen to their podcast and I really like Luke on the podcast. He's very emotionally intelligent, I feel.
Yeah.
So it's a
I
little
have
different from the
I have
show where he looks a little more scared.
yep, and I
But
have listened to their podcast too, and I actually when I was listening this, like, a few months ago, I was like, "Oh, wait, I really like him, actually. He seems good for her. He seems
yeah.
grounded."
Now, Jesse, you want to talk about Jesse? You want me to go there with her husband?
Well, I'm just saying, I wish that Jax would give the energy he's giving to Luke towards Jesse, who never woke up once to help his wife. What?
Yo, that was
Bro. Bro,
crazy.
come on. You know I'm not a parent, so I need to hear from you. Like, how did
So
you feel about that?
here's the thing. Do I know people who do that? Yes. I think it is so terrible to put everything on the other unless you have a job, I get it, like, someone I know has to get up at 4 a.m. and that but still and my husband was like he's like, "Can you imagine me, like, never getting up for the baby?" And I'm like, "No. I cannot imagine that because I would cry my eyes out because I would feel so lonely, and then I would probably be so bitter towards you, and I'm sure that's what freaking happened." Like, how can you leave your wife to do everything in the middle of the night? I'm sorry, you both made this baby, and she had to carry the baby for 10 months. You get your ass up in the middle of the night, and you change a fucking diaper. There are
The
some husbands who
period.
haven't ever changed a diaper, too.
I that's mind blowing. But like what you just said, period. Like that makes absolutely no sense. I totally agree. I cannot imagine carrying a child for that long and not getting help from the person who this is ours. Do you know what I mean? And I just
Yeah.
feel like there's such a detachment. Even just the way Jesse talks about his wife. I feel like I'm like, do you even like her?
Yeah, right? No, he there's so much contempt between them. There's so
Yes.
much contempt, and it was so I felt like I could cut the tension in the room with a knife. To me, this is just what I'm feeling when I'm watching it. She really doesn't like him because I think he's just disrespectful.
And maybe not the partner that she needs. And like part of me, I kind of wanted to ask you this. Do you think that they like signed up for the show? They already had maybe some marital issues and they thought going on the show would help? You know how sometimes people are like, let's make a baby, even though their relationship is like falling in the gutter?
Yeah.
Do you think they
I
were like, let's do this? It could help.
I don't know. I think they kind of sounded like they kind of fell into everything quickly, right?
Yeah.
I just remembered that Nia actually commented. I commented on her post because Nia is so cute. Do you think Nia is so cute?
Yeah.
She seems so sweet. I feel like she's a little sweetheart. She like asked how people liked it, and I said, "Loved it. You and Danny seem like a great couple. Yay for the dad getting up in the middle of the night." And she said,
Yep.
"Oh yeah, Daniel Bucco never skips a beat when it comes to that."
Aw, see, I love that. And I don't think that she would say that just to say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the poor thing was crying about the penis showing, and we talked about that last week. But I think Jesse is. I'm gonna get to know Jesse, but right now Jesse is just like douche canoe.
He's giving a little bit of Sandoval vibes. A little bit.
He doesn't give me Sandoval vibes. Um, he gives me worse than Sandoval. Like, it's different. Okay, he's disrespectful in the fact that he'll cheat on a partner, but I think Sandoval would help a partner with a baby. I think Sandoval you know, it's weird. I think that Sandoval needed all this shit to bring him back down to reality, um, and
Uh,
humble himself. Wow, what a fit.
yeah.
Um, because I think he needed this experience to bring him the fuck down to earth. And do I like that 1, that it happened? Obviously not. 2, that he was bashed so hard everywhere? No, even though, we were part of that. Um, but I think that he needed this to bring him down a notch or 5 or 10 or 20.
Like,
And
my feeling is he would have done this if it wasn't with Rachel, this would have happened. That's just my feeling. Like, he needed, like you said, to be humbled.
yeah, I think he needed to be humbled. Yeah, I really do. And that's why with Jax on TV, I'm like, you know what? He might really just need this to save his marriage, even though it's kind of like he's putting it all out there. I think he might need this shit to save if it could save him. I don't freaking know. I don't know. But Jesse is very I mean, he's funny. I think he's going to make good TV. I just don't know. I like Daniel. I think that Daniel is funny but also not an asshole, and I hope that that pans out. He
Say
seems very nice.
no, he seems so sweet.
And then he said I know they said Jack says that he gets angry when he's drunk, so we'll see that. I mean, there's a lot of people who get angry that when they drink who shouldn't. Some people shouldn't drink at all, some people just shouldn't drink that much.
Right.
How about Daniel doing the voices for Walking Dead?
Okay, wait, also, did you know he was on iCarly?
I did, but
I did not know. I don't remember him. Like, I kinda do, but
No, he was only when I looked it up, it looked like he was only on 1 episode. Because I was, like, telling my sister, thought she was gonna be super excited, and she's like, "I don't know who you're talking about." I'm like, "What do you
Okay,
mean?"
because I was like, I
And
don't remember him.
yeah, then I sent her a picture, and she's like, "I still don't know what you're talking about." And I'm
Even
like,
when they
"Yeah."
showed the throwback scene, I was like, I still don't remember him.
Yeah, I guess he was just on an episode. It's just kind of funny.
But it was cool.
He
I didn't know he did those voices. Like, that's fun work.
No, he's done a lot of work. If you look at his IMDb, he's done a shit ton of voiceover work, like, in a lot of famous shows, so that's pretty cool. Jason first of all, I did not know Janet was so funny.
I love Janet, and that's my favorite couple, I have to be honest. Janet and Jason are my favorite.
Yeah, Jason, good one.
Mhm.
Seems like a good one. I'm happy for her. She's funny. I loved when Zach was like
I love Zach, by the way. Zach is a trip.
Me too, my favorite line. I actually recorded it, but then I'm like, I don't want it to be too embarrassing if I post it to poor Janet. It was like when Zach's like, I don't know, maybe nobody else caught this, but I rewound it because I thought it was funny. He's like, Janet loves a hot dog, and she was just eating a hot dog, and the way he said it was just so funny. Janet loves her hot dogs or something like that. I like Zach a lot. I like Jasmine. I know Jasmine from The Bachelor, and I'm excited to see them. I'm excited to have more representation on the Vanderpump Rules because or Valley, there's not a lot of gay people on these Bravo shows, which is always mind-blowing to me. It's Bravo. I think it started with, like, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, yet we hardly have gay cast members on these shows, and what the fuck is up with that?
No, that is such a good point too. Yes.
What
Especially because, like, not for nothing, but Vanderpump Rule, like, Pump, Tom, it's right in the heart of West Hollywood. So it is kinda
Yeah,
nice to see that. And I
it
just love the energy, I love the one-liners, the little attitude, I'm like, "Yes, give me that spice."
yep. And then, Jasmine, again, she's the only Black cast member on
Yeah, another good point actually for
like,
representation too.
what is wrong? See, that, like, does bother me, the way they've lacked in diversity. It was nice to see representation, and I think in the future when we have guests on the podcast, that's something I really wanna talk about because I feel like it's a bigger conversation, and I would love to have some people on here that can tell us their feelings on that. Okay, so with the first scene on the show, also weird, I don't know if you noticed this, when Brittany came in to show Jax her I don't know if I finished saying this before, I thought they were gonna then maybe show Jax going home and then, like, coming in the house, and she would, like, hang out on the couch, and then he'll talk about their conversation at Tom Tom, but I guess they just didn't film the timing right, maybe, like, the show didn't overlap quite right with that scene, but instead, the first scene was, like, him at the kitchen, and then Brittany comes in, and they're talking about work and all that, and she talks about her liposuction on her neck, and I don't know if you noticed it, but when Brittany was like, "Yeah, I think it's looking good," or "It's looking good," and he's like, "Yeah," and he looked down, and even already I was like, I feel like he's not even, like, responsive to her. He seemed like he didn't either want that liposuction to happen or I don't know if I'm overthinking it. I just felt like he was disinterested
No,
in
I
what
don't
she
think
was
you're
saying.
overthinking that. I had the exact same impression, and he
Okay.
also made, like, another comment where she made a there was some comment about some sort of spiciness between them and how she's like, "Well, I'm glad I don't have to do that," and he didn't really laugh at that, and with
Mm,
everything else that's come out about why maybe they're separating and him not being interested in her sexually, I'm just like, is this a little piece of that puzzle? I
yeah.
don't know.
He's always kind of, like, dismissed her, I feel like.
Yes, me too. I've always felt that too. I'm like, "Wait, that's your partner," and I feel like you give other people way better direct, like, attention, active listening than to her.
I think that Jax likes the challenge, and Brittany is so sweet that when things are easy, I don't think he like, when he doesn't have to chase, I don't think it's as exciting for him, and he always, like, had to chase Stassi, but he didn't have to chase Brittany really until
That's
she
a
was, like
great point. Yeah,
so he has to work on that shit, okay? Because she's a good girl. Work on that.
literally. Literally. I'm like, you posted a video and I commented, I'm like, I feel so bad for her. I really do. Like, I think
Yeah.
she's trying her best. I think she has great energy. I really think that she does have good intentions. I don't think that she has, like, a bad like, malicious bone in her body, you know?
Yeah. I really like Brittany. Okay. Are we ready to get into Vanderpump Rules?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll
Okay.
cross over into Vanderpump now.
Oh, good one. Okay, let's take a quick break, just like that break on Vanderpump that shouldn't have happened. But this one is actually for a good reason. We want to give a shout out to Draw Me Bitch, the person who did our podcast artwork, who is amazing. Please check her out on Instagram and on TikTok. She also has her website, shopmebitch.com, where you can buy coloring books, stickers, gifts for all things Bravo. But she now has a subscription on her page, which gets you access to weekly Vanderpump coloring pages. Definitely go check her out. You will not regret it. And now back to the pod. Like you said, reverse crossover. Let's go into Vanderpump Rules now. The recap. We love to do these recaps. If this is your first time listening, I'm so sorry for you. Just kidding. Um,
Willkommen.
no. If this is your first time listening, we go through what we feel is most important. However, we talk a lot, which ends up being everything. So let's do that. All right. We start with Tom and Ariana's house, and Ariana leaves so Sandoval can have his party. And
The
that whole
sexy singles pool party.
the sexy singles pool party, which Ariana dubbed it, which I loved. I mean, I feel like she has a sense of humor, and you had a point about that. Actually, you started saying it before. I'm like, wait, don't tell me now. Tell me on the pod. Do you want us to share what that is?
Yeah, because okay, so for me, when she said that, I'm like, yes, Ariana, yes, keep that energy. For me, she's using her humor to like cope with things. So instead of
Mm,
letting it like own her, she's kind of owning it. Like, well, I'm just gonna make a joke about it. It's a sexy singles pool party.
I love that you thought of that. I would have never thought of that. That's like a really good point. Do you think she's
Especially
over stuff too, though, because she has Daniel? Do you think it's easier, much easier for her?
Okay, so that is another great point because she actually now is experiencing from what it looks to be a partner that she absolutely deserves and vice versa. I do think she's very confident in like, okay, have fun at your sexy singles pool party. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm on
Mhm.
Broadway. Like,
Yeah, I'm doing this. By the way, that little cutie Daniel commented back to me on his post. He was making pasta with Ariana and it looked freaking amazing. And I said that
oh,
looked like
that's so cute. I
and
love
he
that they like do stuff like that together, by the way.
right? That's what you need. This is
Yeah.
what she wanted. She wanted somebody at
Yeah.
home making pasta with her, to not
Remember, she
going to
was
the
like,
bar.
"Sometimes I just wanna, like, sit on the show and binge watch reality TV with you." Like, she's finally getting what she deserves.
Right. And you know what? She likes going out sometimes, but he just liked going out all the time, going hang gliding and things
Right.
like that.
I can't hang gliding,
She
yeah.
didn't wanna go hang gliding. I don't fucking blame her. Too old to go hang gliding.
Right.
Um, I'll go hang gliding when I wanna seem cool if I'm on, like, The Bachelorette. I always think, like, if I was on The Bachelorette, I'd probably go hang gliding to seem cool, and then I would cry in a corner after
Right.
because so, anyway, she is making a joke out of this, which I like you said, and then we have the next scene, which is Katie and Lala, and I have a question for you, okay? We did not talk about any of this.
Okay.
Why does Katie again, we said justice for Katie last week. Why does Katie have to fucking apologize again? Why is Katie always the one to fucking apologize?
I don't know, and I genuinely first off, I was floored, and I was also like, "Wow, Katie's apologi" not shocked that I know Katie can apologize, I'm more shocked, like, Katie felt that an apology was warranted? That shocked me because I feel like she's very she won't say
Ugh.
sorry unless she really means it, and unless she feels like it's warranted, and I was like, "I don't necessarily feel like you did anything wrong, per se."
This has always been a thing. Katie has honestly, since season 1, I swear, apologized for shit that she didn't need to apologize for and has been made to feel bad for shit that she had not needed to feel bad about, and it always drives me crazy, and it happened again. She it's almost like she's like, I guess she's not gaslit, but it's almost no, she is in many other times. It's almost like she's
Right.
gaslit into feeling like she did something wrong when honestly and Lala says to her, "Can you be a little softer with
I
me?"
wrote
And
that
I'm like,
down too, because that for me okay, wait, do you know if she said that though before Katie apologized or after?
I think it was after, but I'm
Yes,
not
okay,
sure.
hold on, yes, so I actually I have "Can you be softer with me?" Tone and delivery from Katie, and then Katie apologizes. So part of me feels like maybe it just struck a chord when Lala was kind of vulnerable and was like, "Can you be softer with me?"
I don't know. I know Katie feels like she went hard for Lala too, but where is Katie's apology? I mean, she said she's sorry, she doesn't like it to go that way, but
Right.
I was glad Lala said that, but I just feel like it's once again pinned on Katie, and it shouldn't be, and it's, like, justice for Katie, like, it just really upsets me that this girl is constantly, like, being made to feel like
Especially with the things that have gone on to her. Like, she really endured a lot last season that I feel like people kinda just are like, "Okay, whatever, she'll get over it," and it's like, no, she's also having feelings too.
where's your conversation? Sit down. By the way, Lala said her and Katie were really close. Where's your sit down? Katie, how are you doing? Where the hell
Correct.
is that? Where is
Yep.
that?
Yep. A check-in on Katie. Can somebody please do a check-in, like a wellness check on Katie?
Yeah. Well, she has Dina, I know, and Dina, and I know she talks to Ariana now. I don't know how much about like those little things, but I'm glad to see that her and Dana, and I love their pod Disrespectfully. If you haven't listened to that, it's like one of my favorites just because they're both so funny.
Okay, so next we have the pool party, the sexy singles pool party, where, Tom is just inviting over a few randos. Is that fair to say? They're completely random.
Well, you mean the girls,
I
or
mean, the girls.
do you
Sorry,
mean
the
the
girls.
sexy singles? Yeah, the sexy
Yeah.
singles are randos,
Yeah.
I
Because I know
guess.
like the other like friends were there and stuff. But also, I don't know if you caught this when Billy was like, "Oh, have you met my friend?" Whose name I cannot remember right now, but I know there's two I's in her name, and I cannot remember it right now. You know what I'm talking about or no?
T.
T, thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, I know that there's 2 eyes, I could see it in my head. And he kinda, like, just brushed it off.
Yeah, Billy's I don't know if it's because she's not on the show regularly or what, but it's so obvious when she's, like, posing questions, it's just so produced looking. Yeah, what did you think about it?
It just felt staged. It felt
Oh,
very
same thing.
you know what I mean? Yeah, no, I felt the exact same thing. It felt very staged. And I mean, the whole pool party was awkward. I was like, "Awkward," like, it was just awkward.
And the funny thing is, so those girls that were there, Kate and Michelle, the girl who was messaging Michelle in the summer, there were a lot of people who were posting that it was Kate that he was talking to. And I'm like, it's not Kate, it's Michelle. But I don't ever post people's names because I don't want to out people because I know how much hate they get online for being involved with somebody like Tom Sandoval.
Right.
So I definitely did not out her, but he was talking to Michelle. But it was interesting how they how uninterested they looked.
They looked at him like he had snakes coming out of his head. And they
Yeah.
looked at him like, "What are you saying right now?" And I don't know, I just got the vibe that they knew they were gonna be on TV, it was exciting, but their reactions kind of confused me because I genuinely sat here and I was like, "Wait, do they not know? Do they really not know who this person is?"
How do you not know? They had to have known, and they were filming, but I
And
mean,
he also did mention he met them at, like, a See You Next Tuesday event. Anybody who goes to a See You Next Tuesday absolutely knows what's going on. Nobody just, like, happens to be at See You Next Tuesday.
okay, good to know. It felt like the uncle who was, like, coming on to
Oh
your
my god,
friends,
yeah.
and it's so uncomfortable, like Uncle Nino or something. Like, I know that sounds gross, but
No, but
that's
literally, that's the best analogy, and he is uncle age now. I mean, it's
right.
fair to say.
Right, to them, yeah. It
I
felt
mean, you
really
could be an
weird.
uncle at any age. You could be an uncle at any age. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
he is that uncle age category. Like, it's fair if somebody were to be like, "Oh, are you an uncle?" That would be a
yeah.
fair question, you know?
Now T, on the other hand, looked more like appropriate. Now they didn't show them together. I don't think I knew T was at that party,
Me
and I knew they
neither.
were hanging out like this. You either?
No, I didn't know that. Obviously, I just recently heard, like, the podcast that she was on, Billy's podcast, and, like,
Oh, I didn't hear it.
that whole scoop. Yeah, that was
Okay.
interesting. She definitely talked about Ariana in that too. Very
Mm.
interesting.
Oh, I did hear that. That's right. Ugh, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait to tease on this show more, but I did not like what they were saying about Ariana. I felt like it just did not feel right the way they were talking about her. So when he said he was dating around at the time, he really meant he was dating her. I was kind of surprised to be like, "Oh, that's honestly what he was doing." I actually thought in real life he was lying to everybody and acting like he's so serious in this committed relationship, but we're seeing on the show, oh, he actually wasn't. He actually was clear like, "Yeah, I'm, dating around with this sexy singles party, like, I'm just hanging out."
Yep. At
What?
this point, I feel like he needs a lot of practice with dating at this point of filming. I was like, this is really uncomfortable. This is like cringy to watch.
Yeah, and then it made me be like, Wait, did you not cheat the whole time? Because like, I assumed he was cheating on Ariana with different people many times. Like, did you think of that or no? I was like, "Hold
Wait,
on."
oh, that's interesting. I never thought that.
I was like, "You should be better at this if you consult." Like, I really honestly always thought when this came
He
out that
doesn't seem like he has any, like, suaveness to him, so that's why but, I mean, if you him and Rachel got so close and comfortable, I feel like he would maybe have a little bit more pizzazz there, but from what I saw, I was like, "Oh my gosh, you need, like, a dating coach or something."
yeah, that was weird. That was super weird. He needs, I don't know what he needs. Speaking of him dating, let's it's not in order, it doesn't matter. We don't play that way. Rachel and Sandoval, when he was crying to Schwartz
Mhm.
in his room, I was shocked. I know we've talked about this before, like, he gets upset over her, but, like, it's still always shocking to me.
Well,
Like
yeah, okay, okay, also, just have to say this, it was said I think it was said on either Watch What Happens Live or the after show, Katie's like, "What about your, like, ex of 10 years? You don't even cry for her,
yes.
but you cry for Rachel.
What the fuck? I know.
Make that make sense." So it's like, are okay, I will never say his feelings are not real, but, like, are your feelings that much more deeper for Rachel than for Ariana? Because
I
that's very interesting.
I mean, how sad is that? I guess it's fucking true. Like, he just didn't when they say the relationship is that what's gonna come out on the reunion? I hope not. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen on the reunion. But yeah, I don't know. He seems very out of the relationship with Ariana, and I'm but you know what else is weird? I feel like we were getting clues about that from Katie too, because Katie said to him when they sat down and talked, which was hysterical,
Mhm.
but she says to him, "I was in love with someone. I was in a marriage for 12 years, and I still knew what I needed to do to make me happy, and I didn't go fuck his best friend.
And she kind
I
of made
left."
it a sense of, like, I had to make a very hard decision.
Yeah. It was interesting because she was acknowledging, like, you know, "I knew I wasn't happy. You weren't happy. You should have left the appropriate way." So I guess they're all it just seems like they're all kind of acknowledging that it's true that he wasn't happy in the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that coupled though with like him and Katie and him are two different people. I think that they have very different like morals and values,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And that will obviously trickle into their decision making. But
Right. Do you feel like Ariana was really, like, that unhappy in the relationship too? Like, I know she wanted to be with him, but do you think it was one-sided? Like, what do you think?
I think it was one sided because I think that Ariana was willing to put in work to make the relationship better, where I feel like Sandoval was kind of heavily checked out. So
Yeah.
was she maybe unhappy? Yes, but I do think that she had a different like perspective and was like, "Hey, if we could, just maybe do these steps, we could get back on track."
Yeah. "I would have followed you anywhere." That line will always hit me. "I would have
Always.
followed you anywhere."
And I believe her. I
I
believe her
believe
when
her.
she says that. I don't
And
think
I
someone says that just to say it, and I don't think Ariana says things just to say things, you know?
yeah, I mean, you can think your significant other is annoying and still love the shit out of them and would follow them anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't,
Yeah.
thankfully, but I'm saying there's been times that I'm like, "Oh my god, like, please stop." But I also love him so entirely, and also we've worked on the things that were actually annoying, not like, like we both work on ourselves, not like
Right.
Sandoval.
Yes.
Um, but I guess I thought it was interesting that Katie acknowledged that he was actually unhappy. I just feel like this is coming out more that it's acknowledgement that he was actually unhappy because of the whole Howie Mandel thing. I really thought that he was completely bullshitting about them having
Me
issues.
too. Yes, me too. So when Katie said that, I did think about that podcast episode actually.
Oh, this
Because
is
he was super
confusing.
vindictive in that, like, in the sense not is it vin or convict I don't know which word, but he seemed really passionate about what he was saying on the Howie Mandel podcast, and I was like, "I don't believe any of this." And then when Katie said what she said last night, I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay. So, that means that there are things that are known." that we don't know, you know?
Right, yeah, ugh, yeah, but it still doesn't give you any right to go cheat. You leave the
No.
relationship like Katie said, and like Scheana said on the finale last year, and that must be so hurtful to Ariana though, like, if I putting myself in her position to know that you love somebody and you would follow them anywhere and you would do anything and they're, like, done with the relationship and they're done with you, like, oh,
Yeah. And,
what
like,
the fuck?
put in the work, of course, and or have a conversation with your partner and say, "Hey, this is where I'm at. Where are you at? Where are we going?"
But like she said, he went to therapy with her, but
No,
while
I
they're in
know. No, no, no.
therapy, he's cheating on her still while they're in therapy.
That to me is the most wild idea. Like, you go to therapy to be, like, raw, uncut, "This is who I am, help me," you know what I mean? And it's
Why
like,
are
it's
you
not
going to therapy? Did Rachel know they were in therapy, do you think?
that I would love to know. That's, like, another thing I always think too, like, how much of, you know, the actual reality was Rachel given? How much did she know? Because had she known certain things, would she still have followed through and gone through with it? Or would she have maybe approached Ariana a little bit sooner? I don't know.
Oh, do you think they're gonna talk about Rachel's lawsuit at the reunion at all?
That's something I thought about only because last night on Watch What Happens Live, Andy Cohen seemed very he kinda had Jack's energy. He seemed a little scattered when he was talking about the reunion, and I was like, "I wonder if anything gets brought up between Lala, Ariana, and Tom in regards to the lawsuit."
I almost wonder I don't know how Tom is feeling with Ariana with the lawsuit. I know how Ariana well, actually, I don't know how Ariana's feeling with Tom. Why am I even thinking I do? She hasn't mentioned anything. I'm just assuming that she's like, "Fuck it, whatever." The thing about Tom is it's so cut and dry. If he recorded her without consent, he's in trouble, that's it. It's cut and dry, but
Right.
she's not. And I would hope he sticks up for her.
Me too. That would be the for me, it's like, "Okay, at least I can respect that you're not going through with this narrative that is absolutely not true."
Do you think that's a surprising moment of the reunion? I wonder. Like, I'm, like, just sitting here trying to think about
I
what could
know
be.
because Andy said there's something shocking, and I'm like, "What could
Wait,
be?"
Andy said shocking? No, I told you my source told me shocking. Did Andy say shocking too?
Last night on Watch What Happens Live,
What did he say?
he was like, "I was just shocked at that last bit of the reunion."
Oh. Oh, did he use that word also? I have to go listen to that now. Interesting. Okay. I don't know if I realized that. You know, I also didn't realize there was actually some other things that happened in the episode that people brought up. Like he talked about making Anne a bartender, which I'm so freaking excited about because we were saying that he should bring Anne on as a bartender and watch what happens
Yes.
live.
Listen, Andy said don't sleep on the rest of the season. He's hype. Andy's
No, I
hype.
believe it. Look at these episodes. They're getting better and better.
They really are.
Okay, so we went totally out of order. I think we should come back to the conversation with Katie actually, because I feel like it might be more meaningful if we discuss it with what like happened before the night before with Scheana. It doesn't
I
make sense to talk about it now. So they had the pool party, flirty, single, thriving, singled out, and then we see Anne picking up the fucking mess.
Anne's always cleaning up his mess, and it bothers me so, so much. I know people that are assistants. I've asked, "Do you guys ever have to do?" It's ridiculous.
Did you? Did you ask?
I asked 2 people that I know that are assistants, and they said only one person's been an assistant for, like, 2.5 years, only one time, and they asked them, "Can you put my kids' toys away and I'll give you extra money?"
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, that is not the norm. It is not. Like, he should be hiring a cleaning person, not Anne.
Absolutely. And Ariana says, "I love Anne, but she has a really shitty boss," which I
Yep.
liked. Okay, so Anne goes up to Sandoval and he's like, "Oh, how's downstairs looking?" While he's working out in his workout room, which by the way, I didn't realize his workout room was upstairs. It doesn't look super cool. I mean, it's got the lights.
I thought
I
it was in
know
the garage. I don't know why. You know how some people put, like, gyms in their garage? I always assumed it was in the garage.
yeah, no, he's really upset about giving up this house mostly because of the gym, I swear to God, because he's talked about this several times. Like, and then when I saw the gym, I'm like, "It's cool," but, like, it's cool. Is it that cool that you can't leave it? Can you not recreate that?
Right.
I mean, it just looks like La Discoteca that I went to in 6th grade. Like, it's not, like, with gym mats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
But how did you feel though when he said that to Anne?
He says on the confessional, "I know whatever I can get to, Anne will clean up." And it's like, "No. You're a grown man. You clean up. This is not what an assistant is for. You
And
need to
that's
clean
what
up."
bothers me. I feel like he is thinking that the word assistant and maid are synonymous, and that's my issue.
Also, Anne's job is very it's very strange. Like, I feel like half the time she's probably waiting for things to do, and the other half the time she's opening mail or cleaning up a room, or that's not is she making appointments for him? Is she, like, I think about Jessica, Lala's assistant, and that girl,
Right.
she
Yes.
has
Could you picture Lala telling her, "Can you go clean up my kitchen?"
no, that I cannot. Okay, let's move on. So Scheana talks to Lisa, and then Scheana acts to Ariana when she meets with Ariana at the house after Anne's cleaning up, and she's acting like that's not what she said at all to Lisa. What the
Con
heck, Scheana?
confusion, confusion.
So if this is the
See,
first time
this
you're
is
listening, what?
and this is why I could see, some individuals having strong feelings towards Sheena, because that was frustrating.
Right. And this is why if you listen to our podcast, like we talked about, I have OCD also. People with OCD have a hard time. It's not being flip floppy, but depends on your type of OCD. But I can see how in her brain, she's constantly wondering, is this the right thing to do? Is this not the right thing to do? Yes, I feel this way. No, wait, do I feel this way? Are you sure you feel this way? Maybe you feel that way. Maybe you feel this way. That's what happens with OCD, guys. It sucks. It's called a doubting disorder. And you doubt everything. And I think that she's just having this internal struggle with what she wants to do because of her personality, and I honestly think possibly because of her OCD. I wanna say probably, but I know I'm not her doctor. I'm just a person who's lived with this, um, and it seems likely. So I can see why, but I just thought it was funny that she was acting as if, like, "That's not what I said to Lisa," and Ariana's like, "Are you sure?" But Ariana knows. Ariana, like, sees through this
Right.
by now, right?
I mean, I think so. I think that Ariana does know Sheena. They've been friends for a long time, and she kinda knows. I don't wanna say she knows what truths to take from Sheena, or, like, I feel like when she hears something from Sheena, she's like, "Okay, I'm hearing this, but I am gonna also think about some other ways that it could have gone down."
Right, right. I think Ariana looks really caring towards Scheana. I think Ariana really does love Scheana, and I think Scheana really does love Ariana. I think Scheana just also loves Sandoval, and
I was gonna say, I think that there's a lot of love there, right? It's like a little love triangle, because I think that Sheena absolutely loves Ariana, but also in the same breath loves Sandoval, and that's where it gets sticky.
mhm, it's where it gets sticky.
Did you feel like she kind of asked Ariana, like, a probing question?
What did she say again?
She was like, "Let's just say years from now, come to you and say, I've seen that Tom has actually changed his behavior." Because for me, that felt like a probe question. She was trying to gauge
Yeah.
where Ariana stood, so I wanted to know your thoughts about that scene.
Yeah, well, when I was, like, 5 and I got nail polish on my dresser, I'd be like, "Mommy, if I, like, accidentally one time got nail polish on my dresser, I didn't, but what if I did? What would you use to take it off?"
Wait, that's so true. Oh my god, I've literally said things like that. "Mom, what would happen, let's say, if I cut my hair off?" "What do you
Mom
mean? What do you mean, Em?" "Well, that's so true."
You show up with a beret on your bangs, "Mommy, if"
Yes, yes, I put a hat on.
By the way, did you do that?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
me too.
I
What'd you
cut
do?
my bangs in the closet in my playroom.
It's so funny because did you know that a lot of kids don't do that? A lot of kids don't have those impulses. So,
Yeah,
it makes sense that the both of us would do something like that.
yes, that hits them right on the head, yeah.
But I will say kids do have impulses, of course. I'm just saying, like, I had a lot of impulses. Like, I'd wanna test a lot of things, and
Yes, and I was very inquisitive too, and that always sometimes got me into a pickle because I
yeah.
was
So,
very curious.
did you walk around like I did, like Pee Wee Herman for a good few months?
Yep, yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. It was a good look. But yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of, like, what would you do if? And Ariana knew what she was doing.
Yeah, I did feel like Ariana's reaction, facially wise, like a nonverbal message was like, "Okay, Scheana, I'm gonna hear you out, but I think you know what my answer is."
Oh my gosh. I
And she kind
felt
of respond with that. Like, Ariana was like, "I'm not gonna give you a judging side eye. I'm gonna give you a side eye of like, be careful." And that's
right.
fair.
Something interesting that's coming up now, and since this is, like, real time, we're recording it, I'll say this. People have video of Jeremy, who is Ariana's brother. Okay, so this is some tea if you don't follow, like, every little teeny thing, but Jeremy works at Jax's bar, and they had the crossover party there, so a lot of people were there. Jeremy was there dressed up, though, so I think he was just there, like, as a guest, like, I don't think he was there working.
Okay.
Um, and they were doing karaoke, and Sandoval is singing with Jax and some other guy, I think it's "Bye Bye Bye," his famous one of the boy band things that he loves to sing, I'm pretty sure it was
That's
"Bye
one of
Bye
his
Bye."
favorite songs to sing, yeah.
Oh, actually, it was "I Want It That Way," his other favorite song. Yeah, you've heard him sing that live in person, haven't you?
Yeah, I have had that.
Oh,
What
shit, we're gonna have to give them some tea tonight, aren't we?
I definitely have heard that live in person. You know how they go, "It's Saturday Night Live. It's Tom Sandoval," literally, though.
Yeah, we'll tell them something else that you learned that night that you were out, which was interesting, I thought. But Jeremy was, like, singing with Sandoval for a couple seconds, having his arm on him, and people were like, "What?" Like, if Jeremy can be friendly with Sandoval, why can't Scheana? And Scheana was there too, by the way. Scheana was there that night at the premiere party for The Valley. So, I don't know about that one. It's a little interesting. I
Yeah,
agree with that
a
statement.
few question marks, yeah.
I've said this before. I think that Ariana will hold her thoughts and her boundaries and all of that, but I don't think she would shun Scheana out. I don't think she'd be shunning Scheana. And this is because also, like Lala said, guess what? James is talking to Sandoval, but she's still talking to James.
Very true, that's a good point too, actually. I actually did not see it like that.
Yeah, this is
Is
interesting.
it because, though, Sheena's her closer friend than James? Is that maybe why?
Of course, yeah, of course, but I do think it's, I don't know. Jeremy, man, I mean, I think
But
he paid
also, hear me
Jeremy's rent for a long time because Jeremy lived in that apartment with the moldy air conditioner and the microwave that would
right.
set off.
Oh, yeah, you have to, like, turn the light off and then open it. My first apartment out here had weird quirks like that too, actually. You had to turn a
Oh,
light off for the AC to go on, it was a weird thing.
that's funny.
Hear me out, right? What about the optics of it? What is Jeremy supposed to do? Be like, "No, get off of me?" Like, what if he was just vibing in the moment, and are we reading too into it? I don't
Did
know.
you see it?
No, I saw it, but, like, there's a lot of people there, there's a crowd, people are filming. I'm just
Uh,
looking from, like, another point of view, like, maybe he just was passing through and was like, "Okay, I'm gonna be friendly, I'm getting filmed right now." I don't know.
No, it didn't feel like that.
I don't know what it is. I just think it's something
That there's
that,
more.
yeah, I mean, it kind of just makes me feel like, I don't know. I like if her brother would do that, I'm wondering, does he forgive him then? And is it
Not
just Ariana who's I mean, and Ariana should be allowed to hold out forever or as long as she wants. But I am wondering, is there going to be a certain point that Ariana is just like okay being around him? Do you know what I mean? Like
I think
maybe she really needs the either time or the true apology, even though she doesn't want it.
I think it's, like, a combination of those. I think that with time, but, like, actual time, not just we're filming in 3 months later, you know what I mean? I think with time and maybe more than one conversation with him, I do think that they could not obviously be as friendly as they once were, but I don't think there will be that many issues, and maybe she'll attend more events.
Or hear me out here. Did Sandoval apologize to Ariana at the reunion? And now Jeremy's okay being around him.
Okay, that's another good point too, because that I could see. Because it's hard for me to believe that a brother wouldn't feel a certain type of way towards his sister being heartbroken, you know?
Right. Or you know what? It might just be his personality. Like we're all different. And
True,
he
yeah.
might just, yeah. And she might understand that about him, that maybe he's just different. And like, navigates differently. I don't know. Interesting. I just thought it was interesting. That's the only word I could use to describe it. But okay. So, where were we? Are we up
We
to the bar now?
Yes. Well,
W-
what
Sch-
about the
Sch-
swan boat, the
Schwartz and Joe.
Joseph? Yeah.
Okay, why does he call her Joseph? Her name
We
is Josephine, I think.
we have to look at I know, what is her name?
I
Like, what is
mean,
her actual name?
I don't think it's Joseph, do you? It could be. I've never heard of somebody naming a girl Joseph. There's a lot of gender neutral
Oh,
names.
like unisex? Yeah.
I mean, you are free to name your kid whatever you want. Like Lala is now considering naming her next child Lion or Rampage, literally. But I've never heard of Joseph being one of them. It'd be like Kevin being one of them, I feel like. But
No, I
maybe
definitely not heard of Joseph, but also I feel like
Josephine.
that's, like, their little pet name for or that's his pet name for her.
Okay, how do you feel about Joe right now?
Okay. So, right now, after watching last night, I have really, the last few weeks, I've really been trying to be open minded. This is a new person. We don't know much about them, or at least that's the, perspective I was taking. And I do see a lot of quirkiness. Me being a quirky person, me being misunderstood, I wanted to give her that opportunity. Last night, there were a few things that were said that just really rubbed me the wrong way. And I thought that she was insensitive towards Katie and what, like, Katie's gone through in her past. I understand that she's friends with Tom Schwartz. I get that. But, like, for her to say, anybody that dates Schwartz is going to get a lot of hate, like anyone, like, I'm just like, what? And she made a comment about Katie being a jealous ex. And I'm like, how about instead of a jealous ex, she's a hurt ex?
Yeah. It's really weird because so Katie talked about this on the after show. So I'm still waiting to see Joe. I need to see her actions and all that. Her energy is very frantic. Although on the boat she wasn't frantic. On the boat it was much more calm. Maybe the water calmed her. Maybe just being around Schwartz on a date or whatever that was. Even though he says it's not, they're not dating. I mean, of course she's
Yep.
gonna be fucking excused. They're going on a fucking swan boat. Like the Little Mermaid. Like, why are you paddling on a lake with her and telling her you're not on a date?
That's what I'm saying, and that's another thing too. In the same breath, I also do feel bad for her because I do think that she is being led on. But in the other same breath, I'm like,
Yeah.
girl, you know what you signed up for. He just got out of a fresh divorce.
Yeah. Okay. Then Katie said, now I get it. I didn't know this. Kristen talked about this. They'd started, Joe said to Katie, and by the way, I took a picture of this text message from the after show because it was different from the one in the screen. They gave more of the.
Yes, I saw that too because you got to see what Katie. Yeah, I saw that.
Yes. Okay. Hold on. Joe's text. All right. This is Joe's text to Katie when Katie and Schwartz broke up. Bieber loves you slash I love you. And I'm so supporting of your inner thoughts and visions slash live in the moment. You're a gem and I've always respected you. I love you. XO Joe. So
My
then
question is, does Katie like Justin Bieber? Why did Joe say that?
okay, I was hoping you would tell me if this is like a youngin thing because what does that mean? Bieber loves you? Like
I
it's,
have no idea. I'm genuinely confused. Like, Bieber loves you. What does that have to do with anything?
is that a thing? That must
Does
be
sh My only thing is maybe Katie has, like, a crush on Bieber or something that and Joe knew about that, like, where did that come from?
I don't know, I can't picture Katie have a crush on Bieber,
I
but
know, right?
maybe.
'Cause it's, like, so not
Um, I
emo,
think
it's
it's just like a
sexual.
weird thing Joe saying, "Bieber loves you."
It would be like saying, like, "Lady Gaga supports you, I support" like, what?
So then we find out this is weirder, it gets weirder. Joe ends up asking Katie if Schwartz needs a haircut, if she can ask Schwartz if he needs a haircut or if she can cut Schwartz's hair. Do you know if he needs a haircut?
Yes.
Weird.
And it was like, "Oh, can you have him DM me or something, or can you let me know or whatever?" Yes.
Okay, weird. And then I'm gonna tell you a little bit of what I think might have happened, but you tell me if I'm crazy or not.
Okay. No, I'm interested to hear, though.
And then Katie ends up sending, they're not rage texts, but I'm sure they would call them rage texts. This is 2 months after her original Bieber loves you text,
Right.
proclaiming love from Bieber and herself. So, what's the story, girl? Quite a leap from hitting me up to ask if he wanted a haircut to now just weeks after we move out, you don't need me to ask him for a place to live. Dot dot dot. So of course I'm very curious. So she finds out that Joe is living with Schwartz. And
Right.
they're like,
'Cause she said something about, like, going in the bathroom and she saw a bunch of, like, girl products or whatever. Like, that's also weird too. Like, isn't I don't
freaking
know. Shouldn't
Kristen was her best friend. She also stopped talking to
Oh,
Kristen.
yes. That was
And
another point.
Kristen lives down the hall from Schwartz. She could have fucking lived with Kristen. Kristen said she had an extra bedroom or two.
Yes, okay, so Kristen mentioned she had just moved, right? She had a brand new apartment, an empty bedroom. Why wouldn't a friend ask a friend first rather than ask an acquaintance? That made
Now,
no sense to me.
we know Joe had been on that little, cozy mountain date with Rachel and Schwartz and Sandoval. So I'm wondering, do you think Joe, who kind of seems like she doesn't really want to be on TV, actually did want to be on TV? And Rachel was like, I'm with Sandoval. You should get with Schwartz. And then we can
Mm.
both be on the show together and we can do our couple dates together. Like, this is my brain, like, totally going
Interest
off.
No, I totally see that, especially because the 4 of them were hanging out. I totally could see that.
No, I don't know the timing though. So they divorced before Mexico. So yeah, the timing would have, I guess, worked out.
No, that timeline adds up actually perfectly.
Weird, huh? Or also, like, did Joe always have a crush on Schwartz when he was with Katie and then she was done with him and she was like, up, here goes. Time for me. Time for me to jump in. And the whole Bieber loves you. Imagine the whole Bieber loves you was like, oh, poor Katie actually loves me. I don't know.
Now I'm seeing her in a different way now because 'cause I'm like, I totally especially because Joe is really defending her and Schwartz's friendship on social media too. I could like, I don't wanna say she's eating it up, but she's definitely not staying quiet.
Yeah. Guys, I just want to let you know I'm completely speculating here. Let's not like throw any hate at Joe because of this. This could be complete. I'm just wondering. I'm just literally speculating and thinking, could this have anything to do with it? Or is
Right,
this
yeah,
like
we don't
my
want anybody to give anybody hate, ever.
yeah, I never want anybody to give anyone hate, And I also think the whole we gotta talk about this another time, DMing people thing. This came up on The Bachelor about hate messages. People were getting terrible DMs. It's so sad. But I was just like, is there more to Joe than we know? Do we
No.
really know Joe? We don't know Joe, obviously, but I'm saying, like, part of me is like, "She's quirky, she's a hippie, she's cool, she's
Yes.
chill, but a little weird." But then the other part of me is like, "Or is she more calculated and really wants to be on TV?"
Yep. No, same here because I don't wanna say she plays that role well because if that's really who she is, then that's the exact same vibe I got. But now I'm like, I could kinda actually see her wanting to be on TV, especially because she is so quirky and it's fun to watch.
And why did she stop talking to Kristen?
That I need to know because 'cause I'm sorry, that also to me says, like, a lot though, how, a woman behaves with other women.
Mhm.
For me, I'm I question her actions a little bit, you know?
Yeah. Interesting statement from Schwartz on that date. "I could probably marry Joe and be happy, but I don't want that right now. I do,
Thank
but I don't." Were
That's
you
a heavy
shocked?
statement. Like, yeah, yes, I was shocked. I was like, "Come again?" Like, you're literally admitting that this is the person for you, but and then in the same breath, you're leading her on. You want nothing serious.
Yeah, this is not fair to her. I mean, even though I'm not sure how I feel about her right now, she might be
Right.
totally fine and or totally not, but it's not fair to her. It is leading her on.
Yeah, and again, definitely not, like, the biggest fan of her right this second, but in the same breath, Schwartz, it is not cool to lead her on, and you are totally leading her on.
We shall see. Okay.
Next, we're in the Belmont, and this scene was very exciting because we finally get the whole cast in there, and it felt so right, and I was so excited, and I was like, "Look, they're able to go in, Ariana and Tom are not interacting, they're in close quarters, but it looks like she's still maintaining her boundary, and I love that for her, you know?"
Yeah, I loved when she walked in, like she owned the room, and then he was like,
Yes!
"What?" And he like turned in his like BSB type outfit, and he turned and looked at her and was like shocked. He really looked shocked.
Wait, do you think he wanted to be a Backstreet Boy?
No, he did wanna be a Backstreet Boy. He wanted to be in a boy band. He told everybody he tried out for a boy band, but really what it was is he went on an elevator and somebody said, "Oh, you guys look like you could be in a boy band." And I think he took that as
Oh my god.
I swear to God, you never saw that video? I posted that video, it was really funny. People were like, "He never tried that, he just was told that because he told the story," and we're like, "Well, where's your tryout story? You only have
Wait,
the story about."
hysterical. Okay, I could sorry, that made me laugh when you said
Yes,
you were doing
no,
that.
and you know who else loves 98 Degrees? Your boyfriend, your
Oh,
secret
that
boyfriend.
well, that makes sense then.
That's Schwartz, if you guys don't know. Yeah.
I'm way too old for Schwartz now. I've given Schwartz up.
You're too old for Schwartz, yeah. 5 years past your prime for him.
Yep.
Um, no, I think Schwartz is not, like, an age. I think Schwartz would be with a well, he's too old to have a cougar. I think Schwartz would be with an older woman even. I think he just falls for a person, and he ended up liking a 24-year-old right now, but we'll
No,
see.
I agree with that too, especially with the whole, like, Katie and Joe are 2 very different people. I'm not saying he ever fell for Joe, but, they had their whirlwind of a romance, whatever that means for you, Schwartz.
Okay, so back to the scene. Anyway, Ariana walks in, Sandoval almost breaks his neck and shits himself. And I thought it was good that she was there. She was mingling with everybody. I noticed she's there talking, obviously, to Scheana. She's talking to Kyle Chan, who's Tom's best friend, but very neutral. He's a very neutral person in the group.
And
And then
also,
she,
that's probably, somebody she did spend time with too.
yeah, I mean, that's what sucks. And that's what she was saying. Like, these are my friends. And like Lala said, she wanted Ariana to claim back her friends. Lala was super excited about that moment, which did give me some clues about Lala too. But Lala was saying that she wanted Ariana to reclaim her friendships from Sandoval.
And she also said she'd much rather look at Ariana than Sandoval, and I was like, "Same."
Right. And then Logan, I saw Logan was there, the one who's best friends with Lala. So
I
they
was
were
gonna say
all,
definitely decipher the Logans because there was some Logan confusion. Because there's 2 Logans. Because there's Ariana's friend Logan and then Lala's friend Logan.
yes, 2 different Logans. And then Sandoval tells Katie that her hair looks nice. And I don't know about you, but my husband and I were surprised when she was like, "Thank you." Like, we were surprised that she said, like, any kind of nice response to him. Were you or no?
See, no, I think that I really do think Katie's a class act. I think she's just like, "I know, thank you." Like, her
Mhm.
thank you was more of like a, "I know," but it was polite.
Yeah, but it wasn't as mean as I thought it would be, and I don't know. I thought it was nice that she responded like that. I expected her to be like, "Thanks," and, like, roll her eyes, you know what I mean? But
Mhm. Same, yes, that would be, like, more maybe, like, appropriate or maybe what we would think would be an appropriate Katie reaction. So
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay, that was
I
nice of her."
It made me feel like, well, if Katie obviously Katie is team Ariana 100%, and we know she's been hurt by Sandoval, but I think it made me realize that I think that they are trying to humanize him. Even Katie, who obviously is not gonna do shit just for production because she's Katie, and Kate doesn't play like that, I feel like.
Right.
Or well, actually, Katie does do what's right for the show, which is why she let Tom Schwartz throw a beer over her head for the second time because it wasn't caught on camera the first time. God bless Katie for doing that.
Yeah.
Um that's why Katie's queen. But I did kind of feel like she gave Sandoval time of day. And this comes up again. Actually, maybe I'll save this for when she films with him the next time in Ariana and Tom's house. And I do like saying Ariana and Tom's house on Tom and Ariana's house. I
Yes,
prefer it that
I
way.
get that, yep.
Schwartz makes a joke, "Can you not stand so close to me? I don't want Ariana to see us standing together." And Sandoval's like, "You're only half kidding." And he probably is only half kidding,
He
right?
really was only half kidding, though. I mean, not for nothing, Schwartz even left the sexy singles party. He was like, "I'm out. This is weird."
Oh, we didn't talk about that. Wasn't that good?
I thought that was a really key point because, the whole time online, back then when it happened, everyone's like, "I can't believe Schwartz is supporting him," all this stuff. That, to me, showed me that, like, no, Schwartz definitely changed his tune with Sandoval.
Yeah. So when I asked that on my stories, I got a lot of responses, 90% good. And most people said like one word, smart, because it
Yep,
was smart. I won,
and
like
I
I've
do
said
think
before,
that Schwartz, like, misses Ariana too.
I'm sure he does. It's interesting, like Sandoval is brought up too, like missing female energy in their life. I'm sure he misses Ariana
Mhm.
also in ways.
Yes, I thought
But
it was interesting when he said that.
yeah, that was interesting.
The female energy, because 'cause I'm like, "Okay, so wait, do you want a romantic like, in the sense of, would you be okay if you and Tom lived your life out, but you just here and there had, like, sprinkles of feminine energy, you know?" Like, I really think he would be okay to just, like,
I
live
don't
his life
think
out.
so. I think that I don't know, you might be right about that, but I think they both want, to be with
like a
a
partner.
person for yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know about Sandoval, but Schwartz, I think, definitely wants, like, his partner, like his Up, the movie Up.
Okay.
But so then the girls sit outside at this Belmont also, and they have their moment. And I always like when the girls have a moment. I wish they would have had a girls trip this year, but I don't know if that happens. I didn't hear anything about it, but that would have been nice for them to sort of like reconvene.
Yeah, and I do like when all the girls are together because that to me is like nostalgia, you know? I'm like, "Oh, this feels good." Especially because the first few episodes, we really didn't get a lot of Katie Ariana.
Yes, and then we see Katie and Lala hug. They talk about their safe word, which is croissant. And it seems like they're trying to make good or making good in small ways.
Then we have Scheana and Sandoval. Finally, they have a moment at the bar, and I felt like Scheana spoke her truth, and I felt like not that she was struggling with it, but I felt like it was almost hard for her because I don't know if that's the type of conversation she would have with him if cameras weren't rolling. How
Mhm.
did you feel about their dynamic?
I felt like Sheena, I was so proud of her for finally saying something and like sticking up for Katie. And I think she really heard Katie and how she was feeling, like they showed on the last episode. And she was saying to Sandoval, like, you need to fix this. Like, you need to apologize to her, and she deserves apology. And I think like 80% of the people in my stories felt that way too. And then there were a few people who were feeling like maybe it was like manipulation just to get them to film. But I honestly don't think it was just, I think that a lot of their priorities is filming. And we will talk about this. But I think that she truly believed that Katie deserved an apology, and I think she was sticking up for Katie in that moment. I was super confused because Sheena says, "You were kind of feeling like Raquel abandoned you. Can there be a part of you that can take any of that out of it and say, you know what? Maybe I did hurt this person. Maybe I didn't even mean to, but maybe I did manipulate this person." And I can't figure out who she was talking about, Raquel or Katie, or I was so confused. Or
And
was it Katie and they just edited it wrong? They edited strangely. Edited. I hate that word too.
yeah, because there's a double stop there, edit,
Oh, double stop. Edited.
but
Ugh.
okay, really quick, I just wanna say, I do not think that Sheena was just saying that just to say that. I actually think because of the beginning of the season, you know, when Sheena, like, apologizes to Katie, I really do think she's trying to work on her friendship with Katie.
Yeah, I think so. I believe it too. I
I
believe
just
it
wanted to
too.
say that only because 'cause I'm like, I don't see, like, her just saying this just to say it. Like, I do think she really cares about Katie. I think that she's trying to be and show Katie, "Hey, this is an action, like, I wanna let you know I am so sorry for even participating in any of the hurt that was caused last year, and I'm gonna let Sandoval know it's not cool." So I do think that she was talking about manipulating Rachel, and in turn, Katie got hurt because of the manipulation that he did with Rachel.
Hmm. I really wanna find out. I'm gonna try to find this out, and I don't know how that's gonna happen, but I'm gonna do my best because it really bothers me. The thing is, I don't even know if it's 'cause something you could find out because
We have to get producer Jerry. We have to ask him.
yeah, like, I don't even know if they'll remember what they you know what I mean? But then, yeah, because Sheena's like, "Let's talk about Katie. Swallow your ego, swallow your feelings, and say, you know what, Katie? Actually, I did. I fucked up. I understand that this business I opened with your ex-husband was probably a big part of the demise with your relationship, and I'm sorry for that. Can you do that?" And she asks him, and he gets so annoyed, of course. And she says, "Can you just, like, let go of your ego?" And that's where he says, "I'm tired of being the fucking scapegoat." What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, also, you use the word wrong, my guy. And then second off, my thing is he is in defense right away. I'm like, "Tom, are you listening to respond or are you listening to hear?" Because I think if he changed that part of his communication, he might maybe come off differently. He also maybe might have different conversations, but I don't feel like he's actually hearing them when they're talking with him.
No, and it was interesting because then he did the next day decide to apologize, and I'm like, "Well, what happened? Did he think about it on his own?" Or because we know from that time Kyle Chan did the podcast with him, and he was, like, getting Sandoval to finally communicate like a human. Kyle Chan was there that night. I'm almost wondering, like, did Kyle say something to him? Like, somebody had to knock some sense into him, because I
Right.
don't know if he's able to sit there and it takes him I think somebody helping him to process everything and to not have that ego. Maybe it was Schwartz. Maybe Schwartz helped him later because I do think Schwartz is really coming around and like being mature and getting him to understand things. So maybe it was Schwartz, but he did do it the next day. But then, oh, we didn't talk about this. Sandoval let everybody know that taking a shit at the Belmonts is a fabulous thing. What is this? I've never heard of this in my life.
I have never heard of that in any place. Like, what? Maybe
I
they have a
don't a
I
public
mean
poop is fun. Like who enjoys public poops?
oh, yeah, no, not me. We've talked about this before. Not me,
The
and
last
I'm not
thing I
gonna
wanna do
name
is poop in
it.
public.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be like, "Yeah, I just took a grand old poop."
Boys are so weird. That is such a weird thing. I said to my husband, I'm like, "You enjoy pooping in public?" He's like, "No." He's like, "But some bathrooms are, like, better than other bathrooms." Like,
But see, that is a thing then.
what does that
That's
even
a
mean?
thing.
Like, I wish we had time to finish our no, I actually don't wish we had time to finish our conversation last night, but I don't even understand that there's certain bathrooms that are good to poop in.
I mean, listen, as a girl, I'm like, there's certain bathrooms I love to take a selfie in,
Yeah, that makes more
but
sense.
a poop in, no.
Gosh, I would do anything to avoid a public poop.
Same.
Um,
That's
so
fathomless to me. That's fathomless.
that was
Pooping in
fabulous.
public is fathomless.
It's ludicrous to me too. Okay, so he leaves and he actually leaves. And he was like, "We've all done fucked up shit. We've all made mistakes. I'm over this shit. I'm out." I have to say though, in that moment, I was like, he's kind of right. They've all done fucked up shit. Most of them have done pretty
They've
fucked up shit.
yeah. No, they all have had their fair share. I think the
Like, why
problem
is he starting to make sense to me? Like, why am I like hearing this shit and all of a sudden I'm like, you're kind of right. Is it just because I'm like, this has been so long now, it's time to say you were such a dickhead, but it's true. Like, they can't all be attacking you all the time.
and, like, even, when Jack sat down with them and had that conversation, Jax even did own it, and he was like, "I've even messed up." I did think that Jax took good onus in, his mistakes, so I do see where you're coming from in the sense of, like, yeah, everyone's done it. I just think that the way in which he messed up was a longer mess up, whereas, like, the other cast members, they got caught quicker.
Right. I realized that's what it is for me. You saying this made me realize that because when he was talking to Jax and he said to Jax, I don't need to humble myself to you, dude. You don't deserve it, homie.
Mhm.
I was like, he doesn't feel like he owes any of these people anything. He only owes it to Ariana. And
That
she's the only person he's not able to talk to about it. And it's killing him. And I get why she's not letting him give that apology because she shouldn't be giving him the satisfaction because I would feel the same way. But I get it now. I'm like, okay, everybody's coming at you, but you're like, it's not about you. It was about Ariana. Why am I
right.
defending myself to you? Like it's kind of like making sense to me now. Does it make
That
sense to you?
perspective of it with you saying, like, "I don't have to do this to you." I didn't take it though, like, last night when I watched, I didn't take it in the way you just said it, so yes, now I could see it that way, yeah.
And then James is like pissed when he leaves, and I've talked about this before, I feel like James always wants him around. When he left, James is like, "Ah, damn it." And I'm just like, I don't know, that moment too, I'm like, or is it, they really were all so excited. You saw Lala talking about this in confessional. They were like, "Yes, we're all filming together. These are the moments that everybody wants to see." And I really think that they're all kind of together except for Ariana in this, "We're making our show."
Right. Yeah, I agree with that
You think that? I really think that's what it is. I really think they all wanna make their show.
because they were all very excited, and you could even see it too, like, the energy seemed good too, it did.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, guys. I think they really wanna make their show. And I appreciate their show, but I get Ariana. We're just going to take a quick break to give a shout out to our friend Peyton. She is Glorified Gossip Girl on Instagram. Right now, her account is down because of weird rules that don't make sense. So please go follow her backup at Glorified Gossip Girl, but with a U for the girl. And she also is Glorified Vintage Girl. She does amazing work. A lot of Bravo Lebs wear her and order from her, including Ariana Madix, Danielle Rivera, Katie Maloney. Go check her out and support her. Her website is on her IG page, or it's www.distressedout.myshopify.com. She is a super hard worker. She's great at what she does, and she's an amazing person as well. And now back to the pod.
So that happens, they leave, and then it transitions into Scheana and Brock, and we see them in their house. I think that there was a new potential sitter that enters. Is that right?
They're gonna have a new sitter who's like her teacher, but also, I guess, watching her. Like
Which
a
is really, really
school
nice too.
child.
Like, I am so proud of Scheana. I feel like I really feel like she's using strategies here.
Yeah, she's trying. I mean, this is hard for her, and she's definitely trying.
Brock is being I feel personally, as the season progresses, he is showing more understanding of what she's going through, or at
Yeah.
least he's trying to show more understanding. But I do feel like any conversation they have, he does say at least one thing that kind of triggers her, and understandably so.
Right. For those of you listening, by the way, we're this section right now. We just started on night 2, so this is Thursday. So what I'm going to say here is because I heard Kristen's podcast today, and Luke was bringing up how he really thinks Brock is like his favorite guy in the group, which I thought was interesting because I really am coming around to Brock because I feel like he's so much better at he understands, like, how to work on things, I think, and it seems like he grows and she grows and they communicate well. I know you liked the way they communicated in this episode.
Yeah, it's not like he's just throwing in the towel or giving up. You see him still trying. He still has that like fight in him, you know?
Mm.
Like people can change and metamorphosize and grow. And we're seeing Brock in this season of his life. You know what I mean? Like this is what we
Mhm.
know, this is what we have to work with. And I definitely like I have to say their communication when when Sheena was like or Brock said, "I love you," and she's like, "I love you, but I do not like you right now," and then he, like, communicated back to her with that, like, drawing board with the sad face. I was like, "That right there for me shows their love." Like, look,
Yeah,
he's still trying to let her know, "I still love you. I'm sad that you
right.
said that, but I still love you."
Yeah,
It
because
was a nonverbal message, and I appreciated it.
she was like, "I don't like you," and he's like, "I love you." That's what and then
Yes, that's what it
right.
was.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep, yep,
It
and it
was
was just it's
cute.
so true. I mean, how many times, how many times can you relate to that. You know what I mean? Like being with a partner and being like, yeah, I definitely don't like you right now in this moment, but I do love you.
And then Brock brings up his concern with Ariana, which again, I feel like is emotionally intelligent. And this is how I feel like we were saying before. Like, I feel like Jason on the Valley is emotionally intelligent. And Brock says with Ariana, which is so important. And he's like, I'm just worried that when this all slows down, she hasn't had a time to take a breath. Like, what's going to happen when this all slows down? And Sheena was like, well, hopefully that doesn't happen.
Yep. And
Um,
I also want to say, like, you're saying emotionally intelligent, 1,000% agreed. And also holding that space for them to have that conversation. Like, I like that he
yeah,
even cares enough to initiate that sort of a conversation with his partner. That's him
right.
checking in on her personal life, her friends. I really do respect that.
And I also liked hearing right, because, I mean, this is what we always say about Ariana. Something that really bothers me, I really need to talk about this. I don't know if I've said this on the podcast at all, but it really upsets me and bothers me that when somebody is so low, it's like we, and when I say we, it's is a society, is a culture, I don't know what the heck it is, want to work so hard to bring them up. But then once they're up, why now are people like, "It's not cool." Like, now we wanna knock her back down.
Yep.
It's too high. It really is so fucked up, and it really pisses me the F off. And I love Lala. I love Lala, but this is day 2 because, like I said, we just started this, and today I was listening to Lala, and we'll talk about that at the end of this podcast. But I feel like that's what she's doing with Ariana right now. Like, she, like, worked so hard to come at everybody else last year and talked about, I don't know, this girl and what she could have gone through if she didn't have support. And now you're one of the people like knocking her back down. And it's just upsetting me. It upsets me that just because she has all this greatness, now it's now we're done with her. Now you can go. Now you can go.
That's the vibe. Yeah, it's almost like Would the analogy be, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too? Like, everyone wanted to build her up, and now that they have it, they wanna build her down. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but
That's
I
not the right analogy, but I love it because my husband can never get analogies or metaphors right, and we keep a notes app with the ones that he gets wrong, and I laugh so hard every
I
time.
wanna be added to that.
I almost wanna read why, do you have a we said, like, idioms and stuff, he has, like, a lot of difficulty with.
Wait, but I'm
Do
not
you want me to
kidding.
read one
Row.
to
I
you?
love that you guys have a notes section.
This one. I said, "It drives me nuts when you leave the snack drawer out." We have, like, a pull-out snack drawer in the cabinet, and he doesn't push it back in, and he usually does, but when he doesn't, it bothers me because then the dog and he goes, "Huh?" And I said, "When you don't move the snack drawer back in after using it." And he goes, tomato, tomato." No, that's not the same. That's not correct.
Okay, yeah, no, it's
Are you
not.
gonna explain it?
No, it's not correct, but I really feel like I understand his thinking. It's like, "Oh, I pushed it in a little, not a lotta.
Stop.
Tomato, tomato." But I get that it's wrong, but I also would utilize it in that way.
Okay, and then he goes, "What do you wanna watch for TV?" And I said, "I don't know, what do we have?" And he goes, "What do we have? That's a loaded question." And I said, "No, it's not. It's not a loaded question.
But you have so much, though. You have so many options.
You can't no, that's not what a loaded question means. That's not a loaded
Do you see, though,
it's not
how
like a loaded baked potato. A loaded question means, like, you're asking a question, but there's really, like, so many inferences behind it and, like, so many things that you
so
could.
that's why I feel like he said it to you because he's like, "Well, we have so" I feel like he meant to say we have so many options, but instead he was like, "Well, that's a loaded question because we have so many options."
Oh my gosh.
Is that
Joe, my gosh.
do you see how language can be interpreted and then utilized? Like,
Mm.
it's for me, language is very arbitrary, so I always feel like there is a connection somehow in a different way. But you're right, he's not using them correctly, but I feel like when he's using them, he's not using them on like, wrong on purpose. It, like, feels right for him to say that because it makes sense to him.
Yeah, he just can't use that in public, like, with people
Correct.
'cause or
Fen
okay,
Mark.
good. Let's leave on that one. He's gonna listen to this and be like, "See, I was right." Okay, anyway, so why did we bring up the things? Oh, because you asked if an idiom was correct, and I don't even remember what the idiom was
Because I was
now.
trying to, like I was trying to compare something that I totally don't remember in this moment, but we were talking about Sheena and Brock, and it had to do with Brock, something that he said.
Oh, we were talking about Ariana, and we were saying that it's not fair. It's like everybody worked to build her up, and now they just think she's up a little too high, and now we have to knock her down a few notches. It's like you helped to do this. Like you were part of doing this, and I just think it's so strange the way society in general wants somebody to be better, and then once they're better, it's like, we're done with them. It's just weird. But anyway, let's move on to Sheena. I thought it was good too that Sheena was like, well, hopefully it doesn't. Like, you can tell she clearly,
Come on, like, she totally cares about Ariana. Why else would she say, "Well, I hope it doesn't," and she was so
right.
serious.
No, this is like, it's out of control and people thinking she doesn't, it stops. It needs to stop. Okay. So let's get to the part we've been waiting to discuss, which is Katie at Ariana and Tom's house. And Tom decides he will actually apologize to Katie after thinking more about what Sheena had said to him at the Belmont. Is that what it's called?
Yes, at the Belmont.
So Tom says to us in the confessional, I don't think I'm the reason Schwartz and Katie got a divorce, but I'm willing to apologize. And so something interesting here is listening to Kristen and Luke's podcasts, and they were like really impressed by his apology. I
Okay,
think because
so
Kristen was more impressed that he didn't deflect. I didn't, I was impressed that he gave an apology. I absolutely was. But it seemed like they thought it was more sincere. What did you think? What did you
okay.
think?
So this is my question for you.
Okay.
My question is, what's the intention behind his apology? Because for me, intentions are really, really a big deal. Is he
Yeah.
apologizing? That's I guess for you. My question is, what do you think his intention is? Because I think his intention is loaded. I don't know if I
Um,
used it right.
I I don't think that um
You see connections, so I want to know where you feel his intention was.
what I'm thinking is he did realize based off of what Sheena said, and I think we said this before, Kyle Chan was also there. And so between Sheena and Kyle and Schwartz. Oh, we did say this before. Schwartz also, it tries to make him understand shit. Like people really try to make him understand shit, you
Maybe
know?
that's
Like
like his trifecta of like understanding.
and this is what Luke said too. Luke said this on the podcast today. It's so interesting because obviously Kristen feels a certain way about Sandoval. Kristen's totally team Ariana. It's not
Yes.
like she's defending Sandoval. But Luke says that he really feels like with Sandoval, basically it's like more of a communication issue with the way that he explains himself. And this is what I've said too. It's taken me a really long time, but I've finally realized I do think the way that he says stuff, it's just the deflection of all that shit. It's just like he just doesn't know how to communicate. So I felt like he probably thought that he had some reason to apologize, but he doesn't think he's the full cause of the divorce, which is true. I mean, obviously, you can't be the full cause. And Katie has even said this. Like, this was on Schwartz. I think Katie said it at the after show even this week, but I'm not positive.
Yeah,
I
like,
heard
I
her
wanna
say it.
make it clear, like, I do not think Sandoval is the full reason that Schwartz and Katie ended up making like, having a divorce. Absolutely not. Do I think that he aided or maybe facilitated some issues between them? Sure, but I would not be like, "He's the reason they got a divorce." I don't agree with that.
So it's funny, like, I wouldn't say he's the reason they got a divorce, but I would say if it weren't for him, I do think they probably wouldn't be divorced right now. Maybe
Yes,
in
but
down the
not like
road.
but yeah, okay, I
So is that
totally
saying
get
that he's the
I
reason?
know. Oh, that's so
Is that
okay.
saying he's the reason? I don't know.
I
Kind
get
of,
where
but
like, I totally get where you're coming from, though, because, yes, I do think that if Sandoval was out of the picture, they would've
yeah.
how about this? How about this? Maybe they would've lasted longer or differently.
If they hadn't opened that restaurant, actually, I think this would be different. I think the restaurant has really fucked them
That's
over.
another fair point too, yeah.
Yeah.
So not even, like, taking and removing Sandoval completely, but just, like, maybe the restaurant, which, again, he's tied to. There are, like, connections to him being involved with, like, issues within their relationship. That I
Yeah.
won't deny, but it's like, I
Yeah.
cannot sleep at night being like, "Yeah, he's the reason they fully got a divorce." Like, that doesn't feel right.
No, I mean, obviously he can't be. It's Schwartz and Kate, that it's well, it's not Katie, it's Schwartz.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so I felt like he meant it, but not completely, and he was forced into it, so it did sound more disingenuous. It did not sound the way it could have sounded, but it was decent. I'll give him, a C plus for effort. I will give him, a
Okay. I'm okay
4.5
with
out of
that.
10.
I'm okay with that. The C
A
plus I agree with.
yeah, a 4.5 is definitely less than a C plus, but that's how I would rate it. But I do feel like Katie probably was happy to have this, and I wanted to ask you, like, to me, it was interesting because this was obviously a scene that was set up, right? Ariana gets a text from Anne saying the boss
Yep.
man wants to talk. Okay, make a protein shake. Katie's down there. They know they're gonna film. By the
Mhm.
way, doesn't Katie look gorgeous in green? She looks so pretty in that shirt.
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
think
she should
Katie
wear
looks
green.
stunning this season. I really, really like her aesthetic. I love her haircut. Yes.
Yeah. So that scene was very set up. So I thought that was interesting because then she is okay to, I'm sure they said, he wants to apologize to you. And she chose to do that scene. To me, I think this is what happened. And I find it interesting that she's being receptive to him, even though she is so Team Mariana. But I think it's so interesting because she's an example of how you can be like
Re
cordial with someone.
yes. I was gonna say, like, you could still be respectful and not accept somebody, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
The other thing is, though okay, so the apology, though, for me, I'm just like, I'm having a hard time swallowing that it was, like, fully genuine because I feel that he is apologizing to Katie because he does wanna be friends with Scheana again. I want him to
Right.
apologize to Katie because it's an original thought, if that makes sense.
No, you're
Not
right, because he said, "I'm doing this for Scheana," basically, right?
not because of someone else. So that's where my like, intentions are really important, for me at least, like, that's something, like, I look at and I'm like, "Okay, like, did somebody do this because they're being watched or because they genuinely wanted to?"
Yeah. Mhm. I think that was probably, like, the majority of it, but I don't think he would have done it him from what we know, like, I don't think he would have done it if he didn't understand it at all.
Okay, that's a great point. That's I didn't think that. I love that.
I feel like I'm sure
You're
he
right,
understands it
because if
from
he didn't
Schwartz.
like, if it didn't vibe with him, I feel like he wouldn't do it. So, okay.
Yeah. Um, I wish he can, like, be put in a straitjacket, and then Katie can sit with him and, like, tell him and a muzzle, and Katie can sit with him and tell him, like, everything that's hurt her, and he wouldn't be able to respond for maybe for 24 hours, and then after 24 hours, he could respond. But what we did like here is how we opened this show, and Katie's faces were spot on, like always. I mean, her faces win an award for
Okay,
me for
so
the
I want
season.
to say something actually about her faces because really quick, in some of my work I do, I show like visual illustrations of different nonverbal messages, facial cues, things like that. I literally
Yeah.
want to ask her if I can make a little like social skills book using her faces where we can talk about how is this person feeling? What are they thinking? What
That's
might
funny.
they say next? Because it's just so good. It's
She's
so good.
super expressive.
It
Babies probably love
very.
her.
Yeah. So
Right?
true.
Babies probably love her. She's Aunt Katie. Okay. And Katie says, at the end of the day, you fucked up big time. And Tom says, oh, yeah. Like, he's saying it like, oh, yeah. And I think he means that, like, yeah, he knows, right? But he also wants to say something but back, or he's thinking a but back. And Katie says, it's fathomless, really. And Tom says, fathomless? Like, wow, you can't even fathom that happening. It's
Like,
so hard.
yes, Tom.
We were laughing a lot during this episode because anything that he says is just like it's funny. Like, I'm sorry,
But
he's
also,
good
doesn't that
TV.
highlight his reality though? Isn't that a good snapshot? Like, he literally looked perplexed and sounded perplexed when he said, "Fathomless? Really?
You
It's
can't even fathom,
fathomless?"
like oh my god. He's still like we said before, he doesn't get how he fucks up so much more than everyone else.
And he keeps comparing himself, I feel like, when he's talking about that stuff, and that's something I would, like, encourage him to not do, and just look at what he has done. Don't compare, "This one did that, this one did that." Like, just kind of focus. Take a bird's eye view not a bird's eye view. See? I just did it. I pulled a your hubby. That's not the
That's
right thing.
fine. No, that was fine.
Like, an isolated view, rather. You know what I mean? Bird's eye view, I think of, like, eyes in the sky,
What were
like
you
in a
trying to
casino.
say?
Like,
Yeah.
just a focused just look at your situation. Don't
Mhm.
compare because then you're gonna pull in other people's narratives, and I don't
Absolutely.
know, I don't wanna like, this is me assuming, but I sometimes feel like he does utilize others' narratives, and it's like, "No, no, no, that's their story. Focus on what happened with you."
Yeah,
You know?
100%. He plays the compare game all the time. That's a good point. Like, he needs to practice the
Which I
skill of
guess is
let's
deflection. Is that?
stay
I don't
down.
know.
Yeah, it's deflection. It's also like I've said this on videos. I haven't said this on here, but I used to talk about this on videos a lot. I truly feel like he has not been able to fully face what he did and the pain that he caused because it would be too painful and hurtful. And for him to realize that he actually did something super fucked up that caused a lot of pain and deep pain, and I think he's getting, like, I think through the season, like, he gets closer to it, he's getting closer to it, and I guess this was a little acknowledgement of it, but with Ariana, my thought on it is he can't face it because it will hurt too much to actually fully realize, like, what he did.
So, like, okay, when you say that, it makes me feel like maybe the way he internalizes information is different too. Like, what if it's just like the way he internalizes things?
Y y Yeah, it's like blockages. It's like he compartmentalizes what happened into, like, a fair, sad Ariana, lost sponsorships, no more Rachel, da da da, you know what I mean? Like, he has these little, like, all these
Yes,
little
like bullet
pieces in his
points
brain.
almost, right?
Yeah, rather than, like, mixing it together into, like, a soup, he, like, just,
Yep.
like, leaves all the ingredients separately, and if he actually, like, souped it up, it would be, like, all encompassing but especially the broth of that soup would be, like, what he did to Ariana.
These are great analogies or metaphors.
I don't know. Analogy?
No, but it's so good. Like and what you just said laid it out perfectly because that's how I feel like he actually operates in his conversations. He kind of just
Yeah,
itemizes.
yeah. This, that, and you need to, like, mush it. You need to mush it together
Yep.
and stir that shit up and let it simmer. Let it simmer.
Let it simmer
Um,
as a true East Coaster.
yeah.
Simmer.
Simmer down now. Did you watch SNL as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Do you know Simadonna?
Well,
Madonna?
when I watched SNL as a kid, it was 2003?
Oh, that's right, we're different
2004?
kids. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Alright. And then Katie says to Sandoval, which is huge, "No, I walked away from a 12-year marriage when I still loved the person just because I knew I wanted to be happy. I didn't start effing his friend behind his back." Boom, bam, mic
Period.
drop. Yeah.
Period.
What do you say? Period, dot, dash? That's what you
Yes.
young kids say.
I got that. No, I
Um,
actually got that from my dad. Is he
oh,
cool? Is my
he's
dad cool?
cool. Of course, he's a magician. He's gotta
Yeah,
be
that's
cool.
true. No, he's so cool.
Game night with everybody except for Sandoval and Schwartz. We find out once again from Scheana, which we've heard a few times, but that she I didn't know she had an orgy with John Mayer. I thought she just slept with John Mayer. I actually think I thought it was a threesome. I don't know. But when she said orgy, I was like, "What? Girl, you had an
Body
orgy
is
with
a
John Mayer?"
wonderland. That's
The game deck about the dog or dropping your pet off.
okay, so here's the thing, they only showed the back of the cards, right?
Mhm.
And the back of the cards are all gonna look the same. Why do I feel like production typed and printed and pasted their own questions on those cards?
Absolutely. Never have I ever dropped my pet off in the middle of nowhere because I didn't want it anymore.
Like, I wanna buy that deck and just go through all the cards to be like, "Is this here?"
Yeah, that was a low blow, that one, but and then Brock was like, "Lisa made it literally made this deck of
Yeah.
cards, Lisa." Their face, if you I stopped the screen on their face when they read that card, and it was like, oh, the shock was so funny. Next, we have Joe and Allie, and we're not gonna talk about too much, we already talked about Joe, but I did think it was interesting how Joe was saying how online she was called a crackhead whore.
And then she had to
Katie
defend that to her mom. Her mom was texting her, "Are you doing drugs?"
Yeah, I did feel bad when her mom was like, "Have you done crack or did you do crack?" You know, that's like
That's
that's
definitely
sad.
not a good feel like, imagine, like, a little snapshot of your life gets thrown out there, and then people are saying that, and then your mother is texting you that, like, again, the empath in me is like, "Oh, if I was her, I would not feel good." You know what I mean? Like, that's not a good feeling.
I know that's terrible. And again, I don't know how I feel about Joan waiting and seeing. I don't like what she did to Katie. I don't like the way and they were
Agreed,
talking about her on the
yes.
podcast again today. Like it's just very strange. But you know what's funny? Kristen and Luke were saying that they think that she made up that story about the turtle, the ninja turtle.
No, you think so? I could
Kristen's
see
like, I've never heard that story. Luke's like, it just seemed like too good of a story to be a real story. And I was like, actually, I guess you're right.
it
But she's
was
just
very, very comprehensive, I will give it that, but, like, I don't know, she is quirky. I could see her walking her turtle. I could.
yeah, but it fell at a grate and became a ninja turtle. It is
Yeah.
funny. It
Yeah.
I
It's a
just thought
Joe
that was
story. It's a Joe story.
but I definitely did feel bad for her in that moment, and I feel like she seems really genuine in a lot of moments, but I'm just waiting to see more and get to know her more and, like, what's actually going on. Okay, so now we get to Jax.
Finally! Oh my goodness, I was so excited. I literally was like my hands were gripping on my couch, my knuckles were white. I was like, "Yes, finally!" I was
God, he
waiting
walked
for
in
it.
there like he was going to destroy the place, like the Hulk. I don't
Like
know.
a bull in a china shop.
A bull in a china shop,
Did I do it
exactly.
right?
You got it, you did it right. You did it right. And, you know, poor Schwartz, I wanna say something. There's a rumor, I don't know if we'd call it a rumor, but I've seen this go around before that Schwartz may or may not, we're not sure if this is true, but had a difficult childhood with, like, some violence being around that he had to see, and it was difficult for his mom, and now that I know that I hope you don't hear my stomach on the mic. Did you hear that? Did you
No,
hear
no,
that?
no. No, but I heard you say rumors and thought of Meredith, but no, I didn't hear you tell me.
Oh, I quoted Will Ferrell again. I didn't realize how much I quote Will Ferrell. It's like my, Roman Empire or something.
Oh my
But
gosh, yes.
Not John Mayer, what the fuck am I talking about? What was I saying? It was important.
Oh, Schwartz, you were
Oh,
talking about
Schwartz,
Schwartz,
yeah,
yep.
thank you. Okay, so Schwartz, learning that made me realize, like, how much he maybe doesn't really like confrontation because of that,
And that's,
and
like,
it
also hear me out. I don't wanna obviously label him with anything, but, like, trauma can manifest in different ways, so, like, he might just dissociate in certain intense moments because of that.
yeah, and it made me look at him so different because then I'm like, "Oh, shit," like, all these moments I do laugh at the after show when he, like, sinks down into his chair and things like that, but
Yep. because
he
he
gets
wants to be
super
out of there. He's like, "Get me out of here now."
yeah, and he does look like a little boy when this stuff happens, like, he's
Mhm.
very uncomfortable, but now it makes sense, it makes more sense, it's not and it's funny, like, when people look at a personality, there's always a reason for it, it's nature and nurture, always,
Yep.
um, and so you do have to wonder, like, what did this person go through to make them act this way, and I think that's why with Ariana too, whenever people are like, Ariana's a hard ass," I'm like, "Well, the girl's probably gone through some stuff, She's gone through stuff, and that's why she's harder." Same with all of them. They've all gone through stuff. And we're learning that more over time. Like we learned a lot more about Scheana this year. I would love to learn more about Schwartz. And that's why we've said, like, I would love to interview Schwartz because I just feel like I want to know so much about why he is the way that he is. But it made me think about him with Katie too. Like, I wonder those times that he wasn't defending her, and this is where he should have got therapy, but
Mhm.
is it just because he didn't like confrontation so much that he just tried to pacify it and make it better, but he was pacifying it on the wrong side, and he should have been doing it on her side, like
So
but
when
he
you
knew he
okay,
always
when you
had Katie
say
or thought he always had Katie, so he wouldn't, like, side with her. I don't know, it just made me think about all of that.
pacify, it makes me feel like in fight or flight, he chose flight. Does that make sense? Because I feel like whenever he's in a situation like that, the
Mhm,
confrontation specifically, like, again, I don't wanna speak for him, but that could be maybe a memory or, like, a response where he just kind of goes, "Oop, I'm flight," and in that flight, he dissociates, and he's not able to participate in that confrontation.
mhm. I think he really struggles with that. And he was anyway, back to the scene, he was super uncomfortable and but, he did set it up, obviously, they set up for the show too, and it was just interesting. Jax calls him, "Holy shit, this guy looks like he's 50 years old. You look a lot better now." He's just like he
Jax, I'm sorry, but Jax annihilated Sandoval during that whole conversation, and he was kind of funny too. Like
Yeah, he was
he
funny.
commented on the white nail polish and stuff. He's like, "We got to do something with that." I was like, "Oh my god, this is why I'm getting all giddy because I'm like, this is Jax. This is what I wanted. I was looking
He
so forward to this."
yeah, and Sandoval's like, "It's actually gray." I didn't
He had to correct him.
yeah, to correct it. And Jax says to him, "The way you handled it, sometimes it's okay to tuck your tails between my
Mhm.
legs and be like, 'Okay, I fucked up.'"
That's when
And
I like that for me. Jax takes onus. He does. Now listen, I don't know if he
well,
takes
I don't know
onus.
about Jax right now taking onus with
Well,
Brittany. We'll
that's
see.
what I was gonna say. I don't know if Jax takes onus in this situation or a conversation rather like that to and I know this sounds so weird, but like have a one up. Like, well, I did it. I took the onus, right? But like keep in mind, at that time, was his marriage really doing great? Because he made a lot of comments about, well, everything's great with me now. I have the perfect life, yada yada yada.
I know.
So I'm like, oh, this is an interesting confidence to take that
Yeah.
onus. And for me, it felt a little like a facade.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
of
I did
course.
this and everything's great. But it's like, but is it?
Right, we just learned that Jax, like, says shit that's not true and makes himself look better. Today, I was listening to there's a new podcast, Scheana and Jason Caperna from The Valley have a new podcast out with Jared Lipscomb. The podcast is called This Side of the Hill, and it was good. It was good to listen to. I enjoyed it, and they were saying that Jax and Brittany really did put up, like, a front for
Okay.
filming and that they didn't really even know, like, how much was going on, and they feel like Michelle and Jesse really, like, laid it all out there, and that's why everybody could just tell that they hate each other right away. Well, they didn't say
Yeah.
those exact words, but anyway, with Jax and Sandoval, by the end of it, they end up, like, making up, making good, and being all fine and all that, and then Jax goes off to the Valley for the new show, which we did before we did our Vanderpump recap. So that ends our recap. And now you want to get into our news for the week? Because there are some things that happened, some things we learned.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yes. It was so funny too because you texted
News
me
time.
earlier and you were like, I'm so thankful, like, no news. And I was like, there's a little bit of news, a
I
little bit of tea.
know. Because then we always have to add stuff. And I'm like, "Ugh, it's going to be a long episode again." But you know what?
But it's exciting though too, because I
Yeah.
honestly like that we get to see the episode and then we get like pieces of information after.
Me too. Quickly, for anybody who doesn't like spoiler alerts about the reunion, they give us lots of clues. So we're piecing everything together for you. If you don't like hearing these, though, skip on to the next part. So, something that happened is Lala did her Amazon Live. And I do enjoy watching a Lala Amazon Live. She gives
Can you
lots of tea.
explain to anybody who's listening, like, how do they watch that? Where do they watch that?
So you just go on Amazon and you could just go under lives there, and that's where you'll find them. It's just under and or Lala always links it in her stories. So if you follow her
Oh,
stories or get
that's good too. Okay,
notifications,
okay.
yeah, she always links them there. And she was talking about Katie. They asked her a question. They asked, "What does Lala think about Katie saying that she doesn't remember them having any sort of like real disagreement?" And Lala says she has amnesia and that she would pretend she didn't remember either if she felt stupid. Lala also called Katie miserable on her stories. And again, just so you guys know, the day of the reunion, Lala posted texts between her and Katie that were all cool, asking each other what they were going to wear and being all nice with each other. And we talked about this in the beginning of the episode, but there's a lot of pieces we've gotten. She also was on, I think it was the Talk, Lala. She was asked about Ariana also on the Amazon Live, and they were like, "Is it true that you and Ariana are no longer friends?" And Lala, like, literally just did not answer it purposely. She just, like, went right through it. Just so you guys know, the day of the reunion, Lala posted texts between her and Katie that were all cool, asking each other what they're gonna wear and being all nice with each other. And she was like, "Guess who?" Like, "Guess what I'm talking about?" And it was Katie. So she told everybody, whoever got it right, it was Katie.
It was Katie, yep.
Yeah. So she was fine with Katie before the reunion. So, from all the little pieces, again, this is why I'm telling you guys, I think Lala, based off of everything, went hard at Ariana and went hard for her friend Scheana. This is what she does for Scheana. And I think that she just went so hard on Ariana, and Katie was upset by it and hurt by it. And I think that's why her and Katie are now having issues too. And, because I'm sure Katie defended Ariana, then Lala went at Katie because that's what Lala does.
And if we look at, like, okay, just at behaviors last season, specifically at the reunion, she rode hard for Ariana. Hard.
Right.
So I know
Mhm.
she's passionate, and I get that, and I respect that.
Yeah.
It's just in the same breath that she rode so hard for Ariana, she also made money from that. And now
Mhm.
she's kind of combating Ariana. That is confusing for me.
Right. Something else they've been talking about a lot, like we said before, is breaking the fourth wall. So I don't know what kind of receipts or proof or screenshots or timelines are going to be shown, but something is going to be shown, I believe, based off of what everybody's saying. Then Lisa was explaining on another show, just saying how she, do you remember?
Lisa said pretty much people are coming at her for defending Tom Sandoval. And if that was the case, then she would be saying that he hasn't done anything wrong. And she does acknowledge that he did mess up. However, he didn't kill anyone. That was
Right.
pretty much what she said.
Okay. Yeah, and so she also said, was that the one where she said something about like tears, a lot of tears at the reunion?
Yes, yes. And it left us all in tears. Yep.
Katie said something about tears. So I think we're going to get, like I said earlier, I think we're finally going to hear an apology from Sandoval, and for it to hit tears on people, like if Katie's in tears, if that's really what happened, that'll be interesting to see. Like, are we finally going to get the real apology? But we said earlier in the podcast, I think he only thinks that Ariana is deserving of the apology. And I agree. It's only Ariana who's deserving of this apology. But because she doesn't want it privately from him, I guess the reunion was the only place to do it because he also wanted to do it in the finale. She didn't want to. Then he freaked out about her, acting like an idiot. But I'm thinking we're going to see a big, hopefully good ass apology. Hopefully good.
I hope. And like, I don't know, the reunion I am looking forward to. This season has been, I would say, tumultuous a little bit because it's like I was anticipating certain things. I obviously knew or I expected this season to have a certain aesthetic, more or less.
Yeah.
But I do think that the reunion is going to be super fiery. And I think it's going to kind of be like a season 10 2.0 reunion. Have
Yeah.
you thought about the reunion at all? Like, what are you
I think
expecting?
about it all the time because there's constantly information about it coming out now, like little pieces, and people are messaging about it a lot. I just, I'm excited for the reunion because of that. You know, don't forget, guys, parts 1 and 2 of the other reunion of season 10 weren't that good, and this has been, like, a trend with Bravo lately. Parts 1 and 2 are kind of, like, much
Everyone keeps
more.
saying that. Even with Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, so many people were like, "We didn't need a part 2. You guys get
Yeah,
eliminated."
but I think
Agreed.
that we're gonna get the meat in the 3rd part because that's what tends to happen with these reunions. So then you're gonna have people saying, "This reunion is so boring." I don't
Yep.
know, I don't think I ever find it's rare for me to find things, like, super boring. I
I don't
always, like.
find it super boring because I feel like, okay, even in only because I just mentioned it, even in that second episode of the reunion for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, there was still like great parts of it. I just feel
Yeah.
like it could have been broken up into two.
Right, I agree. And something I wanted to bring up about Lala that's interesting is she keeps saying that she wants to be softer or we're gonna see the softer side of her this year. And like I know we saw it in that one pool scene, but honestly, I feel like she's going way harder in season 11 than she did in season 10. I'm not seeing the soft, more gentle side of Lala she's talking about. And
I think
I
she's communicating differently though. I don't think she's as aggressive. And hear me out. I know
oh,
she's like fiery, but I feel like her points she's trying to communicate for somebody else. So it might come off as fiery, but I think the softer side is I think she's trying to understand empathy a little bit.
you think so?
For Scheana, I mean. Like,
Oh, for Sheena, yeah, she's
I
yeah.
really feel like she has embodied Sheena's role and is defending Sheena from that place.
Yeah,
And for
she is.
her, she's labeling that as "I'm soft," because she's feeling other things now.
But then knowing Lala like we know in the past, like she said, she goes so hard and then she feels bad after. And I feel like that's what she's gonna do with Ariana at the reunion. That's what I think is gonna
Oh, you
happen.
think she's gonna feel bad for how she, like, spoke with Ariana?
I think eventually she's going to end up feeling bad. Because I think that when she realizes I don't know, we'll see. It depends what's gonna come out. I don't know what's gonna come out. Obviously, there's going to be there's gonna be, like, some fourth wall breaking shit, so I don't know what is going to come out, but I just can't imagine her not feeling bad at all, especially if, like, Katie feels bad for Ariana or if Katie or if Logan is
Right.
saying these people aren't going to heaven, like, I don't know. I think that Ariana's a hard ass, you know? I like I said in the past, I didn't like Ariana until season 5, and then I got to know who she really was, and then I loved her. But, she puts on a hard exterior. She puts on a front. It's very difficult for a lot of people, I think, to get to know her. I think she's not super bubbly. That's just not her personality, and that's okay. Um, and Lala was comparing her to Sheena. Like one thing she said that I had posted a video of from her podcast. I forgot to say this before, saying that people would choose Sheena, which is another reason why I think she's just going to go hard for Sheena at the reunion. But people would choose Sheena, insinuating that they wouldn't choose Ariana. Or she said people will pick Sheena, insinuating that they wouldn't pick Ariana if you had to pick between the
Yep.
two. And I do believe that, by the way. And Janet said this on her podcast today, which is really sweet that when she met Scheana in 2017, she had come to LA and she didn't really know anyone. And she met Scheana with her friend. Somebody suggested they go to the Mondrian. So she went to the Mondrian and Scheana was there and she had watched the show and she introduced herself to Scheana and they started talking and they connected. And then a few days later, they exchanged numbers. And a few days later, Scheana was like, "Your birthday's coming up. Like, what are you doing for your birthday?" And Janet said, "Oh, I don't know, like, where we're from, we would just go to, like, an Olive Garden on a Wednesday," and she was like, "No, you're gonna do something. We're gonna do something for your birthday," and she took her to Disneyland for the day and treated Janet, like, to a day at
See what I
Disneyland.
mean? Like, that's so thoughtful.
It's super sweet. So, I think that Sheena is the more go do things for your friends type friend and more bubbly and more out there and more maybe more giving even with like what she gives out to people and maybe that's where she connects with Sandoval because he's like that too where Ariana is more like to herself and she keeps her close knit group like really close and she's giving to like the people I think she probably trusts and loves the most but maybe she's just not exuberant with what she gives. You know what I mean? Like, that's a
Yep.
pretty exuberant thing to take her to Disneyland, like, it
That's what I
reminded me of
mean. Like, you
Sandoval.
have to keep. Ooh, that's an interesting point too. See, I don't see it as a Sandoval thing. I see it as like a I don't know, a hypersensitive, like, "Oh, if I was her, like, would I wanna go to Olive Garden?" Not knocking Olive Garden, I
I
love
would
their
wanna go to Olive
breadsticks.
Garden, so to me, I'm like,
No,
"Dude, I
I
will
know, me
take
too,
Olive
though.
Garden." I would
If
take
I
Disney
could
World over it, but
wait, same here, I'm not gonna lie, not that I'm not a Disney person, but, like,
yeah.
I would choose Olive Garden. Their unlimited breadsticks, I'm sorry, that's heaven.
Soup, salad, and breadsticks all day, every
Yes,
day.
yes.
You ever
But
get it to go? It's great to go. Anyway, she gives a lot, Scheana, and Sandoval gives a lot. So frivolously, I would say both of them probably give a little bit more frivolously, but maybe they connect in that way. Okay, so then this part I'm adding into the podcast my own. This is Row because it is very late on Sunday night. The podcast is coming out Monday morning, and Em and I are on 2 different coasts. So we said I would just add this little part in for you guys. So we have an update for Jeremy. We talked about Jeremy being at Jack's Studio City and he was singing with Sandoval for a few seconds. And then we saw a picture of Sandoval and Jeremy hugging. So Jeremy also did a quick podcast interview with Craig McNeil of the Pump Rules podcast. So go check that out. It's like 9 minutes long. It's very interesting. First, Craig is talking to Tom Sandoval. Then Jax interrupts for a minute. They're just like all hanging out at the bar for the Valley premiere. Jeremy comes up to him and Jeremy says to Craig basically that it's like difficult with Sandoval. They did have some sort of obviously relationship. They've been friends for years. And he alludes to not talking to Ariana. He doesn't even really allude to it. He says he hasn't talked to her in months, but he alludes to like that he's upset about this. And it's very strange. I mean, on one hand, I'm like, well, why haven't they talked in months? That is strange. And then on the other hand, I'm like, I think that's actually pretty common with siblings and with just people in general when people are busy. I mean, I talk to my siblings regularly, but not everybody's like that. Craig did say, like, you know, Ariana's on Broadway, truth. But the other thing that really gets to me, and I hate saying something bad about a sibling because if it were me hearing it, I wouldn't really want to hear anything about my sibling. But I just wish that her brother wouldn't have put this out there. This is a big deal. It's going out to the world. He's talking about his sibling publicly in a seemingly bad way. And I don't think she would ever do that. And by the way, there was a post with them like a month ago. She had a birthday message up for him. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Like we said before, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. I just felt sad that, you know, he talked about Ariana in that way publicly. No matter what you're going through, I think deal with that privately. That would have been better. Another thing to update you on really quickly is Rachel Leviss had the podcast that came out and she just like named everybody, a whole bunch of people as knowing about the affair. She just said, name 'em, name 'em. Name them. We already knew most of these people though. Like she was saying Jason Bader, obviously Kyle Chan, who's his best friend. She also said that Kyle had tried to talk to Sandoval about doing the right thing. She said Logan knew about it because Logan walked into a room with them while they were cuddling together. And she says we were staring at each other and she's like, ew, when I think about it now. She says that Brad had to have known because Logan knew. Okay. All right. Logan came out and put out a statement saying he did walk in on them, he did not know about the affair, and that they invited him to come into their weird little cuddle puddle, and he just thought they were weird, and he was also very drunk. She also named, I forgot to say, Max Boyans, who we know, if you follow our podcast, we know that Katie is going to be hooking up with him this season. He was on season 8 of Vanderpump Rules, that cray season. So Rachel is just naming people, just throwing more people under the bus. Rachel was also making fun of Sandoval's sexy singles pool party, and she did tell us that she told Sandoval while she was in the Meadows that he can date, which to me made it a little bit more confusing. So you're saying he could date, but you're upset that he was dating, but you told him to date? I'm just confused, guys. I just feel like her podcast is everything she said it's not going to be. They just recap Vanderpump every single freaking week. And all she does is talk about Sandoval. And it's like, just move on. To me, that's my own thought process about this. This is just me. Emma's not here. But my own thoughts are, if you want to move on, then you need to move on. Is this really good for your mental health? If you said that that's what you're working on, is it good for you to do this every week? I'm not sure. To be decided. So the other thing that came out today, which is good news for Ariana, is that she bought a house in the Hollywood Hills a $1.6 million home. It looks gorgeous. It's all renovated inside, gorgeous house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and I'm so happy for her. Now, does this mean that she gave Sandoval the house and that's how it was easier for her to buy this? Not sure. That's definitely a possibility. She could have decided to accept whatever he was giving her to buy her out of the house and decided to move on her merry way, or she's still dealing with that because I think they were supposed to be going to court in June. So we shall see. Okay, so that's the end of my solo podcast update for Sunday night. Back to the regular podcast with Em.
This week was really exciting just in the Bravo verse. I know I got my full dose between the Vanderpump episode as well as the Valley, and the Valley is getting really, really great reviews. I feel like all the OG watchers were kind of like banding together and we're like, yes, finally. So I'm excited for the next couple of weeks ahead.
Me too. Me too. It'll be good. All right. So, thank you guys again for listening to another episode of Down to Reality. Make sure that if you don't follow us on Instagram or TikTok, you follow us there. Also, if you enjoy the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review if you're on any of the platforms like Spotify or Apple or Amazon. It is so appreciated that you guys do that and helps people to know, ooh, look at this one. So, thank you guys again.
Thank you guys so, so much. I know I'm excited. I know Rose excited for the next few weeks. We appreciate you, and we will chat with you next week.
See you later.
See you later.